Welcome in, folks. Sorry we're a tad late, and by a tad I mean 18 to 20 minutes late. I know that I was going to be possibly a little bit late, but it was one of those things. I was at dinner trying to scarf stuff down. We're in the middle of conversing and stuff, and not really a very solid time to just break that off. So one of those things that just struggling to end the conversation in a easy way, or a natural way. But got it done here now. Thankful to have a few viewers in here with us. And I'll go ahead and introduce my co-host here. We got Sam here at ECF Dog on Twitter.
Yeah, give it a follow.
He's trying to.
I gotta boost my clout.
He's trying to pump.
You
up
might
his
double
Twitter
it
handle
tonight,
a little
Sam.
bit.
I know. I don't know how many followers do I have. 3.
That's what I'm saying. You might double
I
it.
got 4.
Oh man, look at that.
Do we got 5? Anybody 5? Anybody 5?
Right.
5 going once.
Go
going
follow
twice.
at ECF Dog.
Oh, we got 5. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wow, actually.
I'll
no,
refresh.
but
Hold on. Nope, still 4.
Welcome in, Sam. Thanks for joining tonight. We also are joined by Justin, Waterboy,
the newest member.
Just kidding. What's your Twitter handle? It's like @JGig12 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
That is exactly what it is.
You know what? You know how I got Twitter, by the way?
I've tagged you enough times that I kind of remember it, but kind of don't at the same time. So
at ECF Dog way back in the day when he did have a Twitter and then got rid of it and then got another one. He convinced me to get Twitter. I was off of it. You did.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Yeah, you're like, you're missing out on so much.
So much news.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, at JGig12.
Love it. Well,
Connor
welcome in,
changed
you
his
guys.
Oh, yes,
C Fred Run.
Mine's been like that, man. Mine's been like that since the beginning.
No, but you just changed your name on this thing to that.
Oh, the name on this thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like, that's always been my Twitter handle. But yeah, I'm Connor at CFredRun if you want to give me a follow. If you guys are even on Twitter, I know some of our listeners aren't on Twitter, but if you are, give us a follow. We always have just like interesting tidbits. I know Sam's starting to kind of just today getting some tweets out there. I kind of am a mixed bag. I more follow people on Twitter than actually tweet myself. But are you kind of the same way with that, Justin? It's mostly like my news source more than anything. So.
Oh yeah, I'm a hardcore lurker, as they would say, where I just read news and occasionally maybe like something, but yeah.
Sure.
Used to tweet about my professional side more, but now it's just turned into totally sports.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, we have tons of football stuff to go over tonight, guys. Both Seahawks and Huskies. That's going to be the majority of this episode. If anyone has... we're getting there. Don't worry. I'm doing an intro to the episode, dude. We will do a what you sipping on segment. But tons of Huskies, tons of Seahawks stuff. Feel free to pipe in the chat, and if you have any questions or comments or thoughts on seasons for each of our football teams, please chime in. We love the interaction as always with you guys. Sam, now that I've introduced you, at ECF Dog, what are you sipping on tonight, sir?
Well, I'm sipping on some Montucky cold snacks. I figured since we've got video on, it's a pretty sweet can.
Yeah, you've pumped that up before.
Figured I'd show people. It's pretty easy to spot in the stores. And then I've got some, Jack Daniels and Boomerang for backup. So I'll be making the switch at some point.
Excellent.
What about you, Justin?
Went local tonight. Yes, not local as in the Seuss Creek watershed, but as in Mac and Jack African Amber, little out of Redmond, Washington here. So pretty good go-to bar beer, but ever since COVID, they started selling it in cans. So that's what we went with.
You're a Mac and Jack guy, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I really like Mac and Jack. I mean, it's pretty basic. I think a lot of people do around here, but it's good.
Yeah. I know my buddy Nate is a big Mac and Jack guy as well. Connor, what about you?
I'm on the bourbon train tonight. I thought you were going to be sipping some whiskey.
I am
Sam, but-
going to. I'm just getting all
there.
primed up.
Well, let me show the bottle since we got video. One sec. Good old bullet
Oh.
bourbon.
That's
Ah,
good.
Yeah, it is good. It burns good.
Fancy.
Not that fancy, but it's good. All right, guys. Well, unless you guys have anything else to do pre-show, I think we're ready to dive into the meat and potatoes of the episode. Let's start with the Hawks. Did you guys watch the game? I didn't watch the game really that much.
I didn't,
I just watched
honestly.
the highlights. Okay,
I
look at
watched
us.
the highlights. Yeah.
mhm.
Look at us.
I
Didn't watch
mean, who
We
even
have
played?
podcasts. We watch highlights. Well,
we played the Raiders, I'm pretty sure.
yes, we did.
First
in Vegas.
preseason game. I mean, preseason in general. I mean, there's some positional battles that are exciting sometimes, but I feel like especially this year, the Seahawks are pretty solidified with their starters. So I don't know. Wasn't that exciting to me.
Yeah, the bucket hat crew was quite large on the sidelines in the first preseason game. So yeah, I didn't tune in. I was honestly hanging out with friends, so I didn't really tune in until like the very end. And then I tried to rewatch. I recorded it to rewatch it and watch the first quarter and a half, and I was like, this is stupid.
I mean, can we talk about Geno Smith at least?
who got rocked. I did see that.
He got smacked.
Okay, what are the Raiders doing setting a corner blitz in preseason? What are you doing? You're trying to injure a quarterback at that point.
And they did. I mean, he's in concussion protocol now, right? I mean, he got hammered.
But he came back. I don't know if you saw that. He came back in for a series and a half after he got hit. And then was like, oh, whoa, bro, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And Dave Wyman was hilarious on it. He's like, oh, good job, Seahawks. They'll take care of him. They're doing a good job with the concussion protocol or whatever. After they took him out after they took him out a quarter and a half after he got hit.
Oh,
so
jeez.
anyway, that was kind of funny. Not funny, obviously, because hopefully Geno's okay. It sounded like he was not feeling pretty well. I think it was either Pete Carroll had an interview, I think either yesterday or today, and he's still on the mend for sure. So I wouldn't count on seeing him in this second preseason game against Denver this upcoming Saturday. But yeah, I mean, obviously no starters really played. I think the most noteworthy names that played were probably Jordan Brooks got some playing time, some run. He looked okay. Alton Robinson looked really good. Again, against all this is against backup linemen and stuff like that. So who knows what that actually ends up amounting to. But I mean, for sure he's going to be in the pass rush rotation. And I think he's developing into a pretty solid rotational piece. So I was excited to see that. Darrell Taylor played okay as well. Saw him quite a bit out there. Robert Kindiche didn't play, did he?
If he did, I didn't know.
I didn't see it, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's hurt right now or if they were also just resting him. But I know he's someone that's supposed to be in the defensive line rotation. I haven't seen him play yet. I'm interested to see how he kind of factors in. It's just a name that I'm looking out for.
Yeah.
Any other shout outs that you guys, I mean, you guys watched highlights. Any other shout outs that you guys had for players that did play?
I'm trying to remember. Didn't DJ Dallas have a nice reception for a touchdown down the sideline?
Yeah. From Alex Magoo at quarterback.
Yeah, our practice squad. I feel like he's been there forever, but it's really only been a year, right?
Yeah.
Would you guys rather have Geno or Alex Magoo as your backup at this point? Do you still want Geno at this point?
I don't want to have to play a backup.
Well, sure.
Russell.
It should be irrelevant. It has, I mean, knock on wood so far in his career.
Connor, what are you doing? Don't say that.
I knocked on wood.
Yeah, I mean, if your backup QB is playing, then your season
it doesn't matter
in the tube anyway. So I'll just say Geno because of his experience. Quote experience. But I don't even know. I'm kind of convincing myself out of it as I say it more. So I don't care.
I love when you have a debate inside your own head and you start talking down one way and you're just like, yeah, that's actually not right. Yeah. Totally.
Is Ronnie Fouch available? Ronnie Fouch, is he available?
No, I don't think so.
I wonder what that guy's up to.
I don't know.
Definitely not playing football.
It's not it's not something that I lose sleep over. I'm not. I don't think I've thought of Ronnie Fouch in about 10 years. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, other than that, though, with the first preseason game, it's just like probably good for people to sprint. But other than that, I don't take much from it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So it was kind of a snoozer. I think if anyone else that's viewing this had any other thoughts, please chime in. But I think that's probably all we're going to cover as far as the preseason game itself. We do have some big news though, and breaking news as of yesterday morning, as we're recording on Wednesday night. And yeah, Tuesday morning, Jamal Adams did sign his contract, and he is officially extended with the Seahawks for 4 more years, 70 million, big ones.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Average of 17.5 a year. Yeah, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on the deal. Sam, I want to start with you. You just said that's a lot.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jamal Adams being a Seahawk for not only now but the?
Oh yeah. See, Justin scared me. He knows I'm coming after his
like,
boy.
I'm out of here, dude.
He's like, see ya.
He's like, I'm peaceful.
We're gonna start off with this, huh? No, yep. I've kind
come at me. What we got?
Come at me, bro.
I think it's worth it. I honestly think it's worth it.
Why?
I have been less of a fan of Jamal Adams than most, I would say. I think he's just a very interesting player, and presents a lot of versatility in terms of being arguably our best pass rusher, which is really odd coming from the safety position.
Sure.
I think he certainly needs to improve on some pass coverage issues that we saw last year. I don't know how much to chalk up to being part of a new system. Like, it's obviously harder to nail down coverages than it is a blitz package designed for you. I know he was also battling injuries and whatnot. So I think, I mean, he's a solid, really good player. That is a lot of money though. Yes. Like, is he the best safety in the league? I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure. Like, not last year.
No.
Does he have the potential to be?
I'm not mad about it, but I don't think it's like, oh, hell yeah, we got a screaming deal either. Like, we probably overpaid, but he's also probably going to be a badass defensive player for us for the next, it's 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
4-year extension. So I think it's technically, is it technically 5?
Yeah, I mean, technically we have him for 5 more years because it's 4 years after. Yeah.
So I'm not mad about it, but I do think that's a lot of money. It's a lot of moolah between that and Russ's contract that I'm sure is going to get renegotiated this year, or he walks. Like, who knows? But maybe, that's another aspect of this signing too. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts, Justin, if this had any impact on the way that you feel about it. But signing a guy like Jamal Adams, does that make it more appealing for the whole Russell Wilson drama to maybe not look elsewhere and stay with Seattle? Even though it's a defensive player, does it have some sort of impact on that? I think it probably does.
I think so, right? Because it shows the Seahawks want to win and want to pay the players that they think at least will help them win. I mean, we could argue that if that's true or not.
Sure.
They obviously think that Jamal Adams is going to help them win and be a leader on that defense as Bobby Wagner gets older. Jamal Adams still has plenty. I mean, he's still young. What is he? 25?
Yeah, I always
25.
Get surprised. Yeah, that's insane.
25.
Yeah, so I mean, he has,
October,
6. I mean, you would think injury, not counting that, 6 at least prime years left. Of peak athleticism. So
I forget that.
So I don't hate the deal. Obviously, I agree with what Sam said. It's a lot of money, more than any other safety has ever made. But as Jamal Adams would argue, he's not a safety, he's a defensive weapon, or I forget what the exact wording was, but he's not going to go out there and lead the league in interceptions. There's a lot of memes going out there that Vince Wilfork has more career interceptions than Jamal Adams and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, Jamal Adams being missing a lot of games and being hurt a lot of the year last year, still had 8.5 sacks or something like that. I mean, he clearly is a weapon for this team. And, being able to drop and be unpredictable is an asset too. So I don't hate the deal. Obviously, I would have loved if we spent less money. But the one thing that I do like about it is that it does save $4.5 million on the cap this year. So if we want to if we want to bring any players or any long-time tenured Seahawks back to the team,
KJ
Wright, maybe we can do that now. Connor, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I like how you turned it over at that point. Yeah, KJ Wright, Richard Sherman, or Golden Tate are kind of probably the three options that we would have at three positions that we possibly would need another body. KJ, I think, would be the most logical decision, just because he was so good last year in our defense, and I mean, I think he's still got a lot left in the bag. Not a lot, I guess, but he's still got something there.
And he would be pretty cheap too. I mean, I guess the other players would be too, but I mean, you just saw KJ perform at a pretty, the highest level maybe he had. And granted, it was a different position than what he'd been playing, but clearly a very high level and could obviously add something to this team.
Yeah, it'd be so cheap. Going back to Jamal though, yeah, I mean, 17.5 is a lot. I mean, it's $2 million more than the next highest paid safety, which it's not like we were resetting the market in a new year. Justin Simmons was just paid his contract 2 months ago. So it's for sure a big step up in the market. But you're also, I said it in a podcast before, and I might have been a little bit I might be eating my words a little bit. I said that he could be a top 3 player defensive player in this league. And I do think that he has that upside. I think you have to remember that he was injured for pretty much all of last year. He had about 3 injuries going on throughout the entire year. From his shoulder, he had a torn labrum or something like that.
Yeah.
That he was coming back from. He's never going to be 100% during a season after that. Not that any football player is really 100%, but that's a significant injury, right?
Yeah, all of his fingers were.
And then he broke 2 fingers. Yeah. And then I think he had a groin thing going on.
Yeah, he had something with his leg, right?
Yeah, in the middle of the year as well. So you're talking about a guy that was, he was a warrior out there. He still played well. If you're talking about safety terms, he still played well. But obviously, you look at that, we paid 2 first-round picks for him, and we're about to give him this big contract, which we just did. And you're yeah, maybe a little bit of an underwhelming full year, despite the sack numbers. Those are sexy numbers, but he's paid to be a safety. And so long as he's actually going to be able to do that and at a high level, and I know that he can impact the game in other ways, if he can cover like he has earlier in his career,
yeah,
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with this deal. And Justin, you said that he describes himself as a defensive weapon, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how he was going into negotiations with that position, right?
Yeah,
he could have. This could have been a lot worse. I'm sure his starting point was probably at 20-something million, and the Seahawks were yeah, F that, no way.
Yeah, that's what the rumors were, right? That he wanted more money. The Seahawks.
Yeah.
If you believe all those rumors and what the insiders were saying,
it could just be leaks. Yeah,
he for sure wanted more money than he got.
Oh, of 100%. Course.
That's just the name of the game.
Jamal Adams' story is that his mother called him and said his full name. Where you don't need to prove anything to anybody, take the damn deal, essentially.
Right.
And he took the deal.
So thank you, Mama Adams.
Well, she's
according
smart.
to him. So, I'm sure there's some truth in that, right? It's okay, that is a lot of money. I'll take the deal. It's a lot of guaranteed money too.
The one thing we haven't brought up is that there were some kind of hardball negotiation tactics going on the last few days before the deal got done. And with the Seahawks basically being all right, our offer's on the table. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
If you don't want it, we'll tag you, and we'll tag you again the year after that. You're going to get paid less on both of those tags than you would with our offer.
Yeah.
You want to roll with that? Like, is that what you want to do? Or you want to start, are you going to hold out and start sacrificing game checks? So while Jamal Adams had a lot of leverage, I will say, like, just with the amount of capital that the Seahawks spent on him in acquiring him, and the fact that they didn't get a pre-negotiated deal done beforehand, and the fact that they used him basically as an additional defensive end, so he had an argument to be labeled as a pass rusher. Like, he had a lot of leverage on his sides. I think the Seahawks honestly came out of this pretty well, and they kind of put their foot on the brake and used the tactics that they could with the franchise tag and the threatening of that to be able to get him to ultimately sign on the dotted line. And I mean, it sounds like shady and like all that kinds of stuff, but it seems like they're on good terms. Like, Jamal seems happy, Pete seems happy, John seems happy. I think everyone came out of this with a win-win scenario. For sure, it's a lot of money for a safety, especially, but you don't get this kind of game-changing safety. You get this like once in a generation, right? He's a once in a generation type player. Well,
I mean, we did have Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor like 5 years ago.
Yes, and we've seen what the defense can do with an elite safety like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Jamal has higher upside than both those guys.
I don't know.
You struggle with that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Earl Thomas was pretty good.
I think Earl was one of
Earl had amazing range.
Earl had amazing everything. He had amazing hands when he got. I mean, I think he is in his prime. He's like an all-time great safety. Obviously, you have Ed Reed, Palamalu, Palamalu. I'm just,
did you really call him that?
Just making sure you guys are awake over there. Yeah, Palamalu.
Okay.
But I don't know. That's that. I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole on this one, but I think it's pointless because Jamal Adams, I agree. Like, I'll throw you a bone on that for sure. He's got, I mean, his ceiling is in that category for sure. He's got to recognize it. I think the thing that's interesting to me that I'm excited to watch with Jamal, and Justin kind of pointed this out, is his leadership qualities. I think the team really feeds off of that. And, you know, obviously Justin and I, we had some friendly banter last season talking about how he would yap and all this. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I honestly was kind of just playing that up for fun. I do like some attitude on defense. Everybody knows that. But with this new, like, Roger Goodell emphasis on taunting, Jamal could get us in some trouble on like some key. It's going to happen. You know it's going to happen, right?
Sure.
Who wants to see that?
How long can that really last?
Nobody.
How long can that rule last?
A year.
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, remember they put an emphasis on hitting the quarterback, and there was still some bullshit roughing the passer penalties that season. Like, they're for sure going to be throwing that flag early in the year, and it could. I'm not over exaggerating when I'm saying like that could legitimately cost us a game because Jamal Adams talks so much shit on the football field. He does.
It was so bad in this first week of the preseason. I don't know if you guys saw this highlight, but
I did.
In the Colts-Panthers game, this running back, I don't know who it was, but like really carried 3 or 4 players and just did a little flex on them. Like, oh, you can't tackle me. Not like directed at somebody, but like, come on, like, you know, I'm a beast, and got flagged for it, which I'm like, that's just total BS. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's going to be bad. I hate it.
And coming out and hearing John Mara from the Giants and Ron Rivera try to explain it away and say like, oh, you know, you got to watch out for the kids. Like, we don't want the next generation to be plagued by this arrogance of these NFL players and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, come on. Like,
listen,
what are we doing?
This is what kids want to see, man.
No. We're getting soft. I want to see people's heads getting taken off their bodies across the middle.
Okay, whoa.
Well,
Vontae's perfect. Where are you at? Get him back in the league.
I mean, all you got to do is watch Cam Chancellor highlights on Vernon Davis, and that's enough. It's enough material.
Yeah, but those are at least. I mean, those are legal hits.
Those are legal hits. Well, at that time.
Well, the big one on the sideline was a flag, but it was a legal hit.
Yeah, that was nonsense.
I was at that game.
I don't think some of those would be legal in today's rules
absolutely
for
not.
sure.
Maybe we should just start playing Sarcastaball. Oh yeah, we should put on 10 hats, and instead of a football, let's play with a balloon. And instead of tackling, we'll give points for how many hugs you can give. You think the kids would like that? Oh yeah, they would love that. That's basically the direction we're going.
Oh boy, I don't know what's in your
Nice to each other.
Montucky, but we're gonna have a fun night.
Come on. South Park, you guys seen that? Come on.
Just wait till we get to Husky football, and Sam's gonna.
I
be all
know.
kinds of fired
Can
up.
I ask a question to you too?
Sure.
We talked about Jamal Adams' contract a lot, but
Yep.
that wasn't even the player I was most worried about showing up for game 1 of the season.
Big
Mine
dog.
was Dwayne Brown, our
Yep.
left tackle. Hasn't practiced yet. Kind of hoping for a new deal. I think he's almost 36 or is 36. Obviously, have some knee issues. So, what are your guys' take on the Dwayne Brown hold-in and his availability for the start of the season?
Go ahead.
Well, I don't
think it's gonna be
like
good.
I don't particularly like our backup left tackle options.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a fan, I'm just like, whatever you need to do, John Schneider, to get him to play, I'm cool with at this point. You don't think that? Okay.
Well, you
Dwayne
can't
Brown had a
do.
real-
What do you want to
Well,
sign
no.
him to like a 4-year deal with 50 million
No,
guaranteed?
I don't think
So
you'd
it's
even
not
want
anything.
He wouldn't want a 4-year deal though. He's probably looking for a 2-year extension.
I think you got to be careful because I agree with your
Sure.
point, Connor. Like we got to get him because if he's not there, I mean,
Well,
Russell's
Dwayne
gonna
Brown
be,
has held out before. That's how we got him. Remember?
yeah.
Like he'll do it. He's
But the
made
thing-
his money.
But then you didn't get penalized as much as you do now for holding
Sure.
out.
Well, he's there, so he's not getting
hold in
penalized. He's holding in.
Yeah.
He's there. He's just not participating in practice.
I don't know. I
So-
just get worried if you're going to invest a bunch of money in someone that old. It's like it's just the perfect pickle for an NFL team, right? Like,
Well, Justin
You-
mentioned his knee injuries. That's the biggest thing, right? Like that's that. I mean, he's a big dude, but he's also in phenomenal shape for his age and for his size.
yeah.
And he takes really good care of his body overall. And he had a really good year last year. Like that was probably his like second or third best year, like playing in the NFL. So, I mean, he's for sure obviously exercising his rights as a player. I think this came as a complete surprise to the Seahawks, and that's why they're kind of completely caught off guard. They didn't have this in the books as far as budgeting for future seasons, that a Dwayne Brown contract extension would be in the works. But I mean, I don't see another option right now. Like, I mean, Jamarco Jones is probably your next best bet at left tackle, and that's a steep drop off.
Yeah,
And we just saw what the rookie Stone Forsythe was worth at left tackle, and let me tell you what,
that's not.
I'm
not a lot.
pretty sure I could have done a better job out there.
That's no bueno for
It's
sure.
not good.
No.
I'm 5'8", 170. Not good. Not good.
Yeah.
I say not great, Bob, but that's bad. That's awful. So
Ugh.
I mean, we
need
have to
get
bring
him
him
into
back.
camp. We need to get him into camp, and I just worry because he's an older player that he's kind of made his money, and he would be totally cool with either retiring or getting traded if the Seahawks don't want to give him an extension. So
yeah.
I
Hopefully it
don't know.
doesn't come to that.
Yeah, I'm hoping not either. He's obviously there, so maybe things are more amicable than what the media is portraying, but it sure sounds like a situation to monitor. And now that the Jamal Adams contract is done, that's like the next one kind of that people are watching out for. So, Justin,
Yeah.
what do you think of the whole situation? You were the one to actually ask the question. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, we have to figure out a way to get him back. I mean,
Yeah.
we've obviously
we're
invested.
in win now mode.
Win now mode, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So we're not messing around with just like, oh, we'll let him go where it's okay. We'll figure it out with Stone Forsythe or Jamarco Jones or whatnot. Because Russell Wilson will then get injured, like you were talking about, Connor, and then Geno Smith will be in.
Yeah. Did you see what happened to Geno Smith? Russell is lighter than him. He will get helicoptered.
Right. Aaron Donald will just start playing outside and right over Stone Forsythe if that happens. He'll just be the end. We don't want that. The 49ers have a decent defensive line too, by the way. And now
so do the Cardinals.
Yeah. So
all right, well, cool. Yeah, so F me. Yeah.
Russell's gonna be running.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to get it done one way or another. I mean, I don't know if we can shift cap room into this year because we just saved it from Jamal Adams's deal or whatnot to pay. But I mean, whatever we do, we have to get it done.
Yeah.
Russell's obviously talked about too. He'd be willing to restructure his contract in order to fit some of these guys in. Is that something that you guys are interested in doing with his contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually smart because, obviously the NFL, we took a cap hit. Like the overall cap is less this year than it has been in the past because of COVID. But you would think it would start to grow again with things opening back up in the future. And hopefully COVID's not a thing in like 2023. So the cap will get larger. And so if you sign a deal now, that would theoretically save you some money down the road when you would have to re-sign him in the future.
Right.
Yeah. Should we run down this roster really quick?
Yeah, let's do this depth chart real quick. I guess share my screen.
Quick shout out too before we get into this. For those that are listening, let us know if you have any questions on the Hawks. We'll get to those questions if you want to send them off. But I think for the most part, I mean, we can run down this list. I think we're in agreement on a lot of them, so we probably don't need to spend too much time on these, but let's definitely go down the list and then talk about some of these position battles or some of these disagreements, because I think there's a handful that'll be interesting to see how the roster shapes up.
Yeah, there's a few disagreements, I'd say, but mostly I think we're all in alignment. First disagreement is at the quarterback position. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we're all chalk on basically all of the skill positions on offense. The one, I guess, difference that you have technically, Sam, do you think Will Dissly is going to get snaps above Gerald Everett at tight end?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
That? I mean,
do you just think he's better, just all around tight end type thing, like better fit?
Yeah,
all around.
Yeah, I really think that's going to be a situational call. I think Gerald Everett's going to probably be the name that you hear more often. He's obviously going to be the receiving. So he's going to catch more passes. Yeah, I think so for sure. But Will Dissly, but
you're talking snap count right now.
Yeah, purely snap count. I think Dissly is such a. I mean, it gets overused with like tight ends being an extra offensive lineman, but he really is. I mean, he's a massive guy. He really gets after it and run blocking, pass blocking. And we all know like he's a sneaky receiver as well. So I think it's going to be pretty evenly split. I think you're going to see a lot of both of them.
Can you guys hear all? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Can you hear all that dog barking in the background on my feed? Because I will mute myself if that's.
Is that yours? Is that Lola?
It's not me.
That's mine. It's not Lola. It's her name is Libby, and she's a dog that we're watching right now, and she is a barker. So. Katie just got home, so I'll mute my mic so that you can talk, Sam. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Libby. I know another dog named Libby. Must be from Montana. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty even split. I imagine you guys feel the same way. I mean, give or take, but I am excited to see what Gerald Everett brings to this offense for sure. Obviously, he's got familiarity with the offense with Shane Waldron coming from Los Angeles Rams. And I think it'll be a welcome new addition to the team with the element that he'll provide for Russ in the passing game for sure.
I think for those reasons that you just mentioned is why Gerald Everett will get the majority of the snaps, at least to start the season. The familiarity with Waldron, I think that he's a better route runner and pass catcher, at least than Will Dissly has shown. I mean, it's kind of an unfair take because Will Dissly's been injured so much. So,
yeah.
But at least to start the season, I think for those reasons alone, that's why Gerald Everett will get the majority of the snap count because he can block as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's definitely not as good of a blocking tight end as Disley is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the other pieces. I mean, we're going to see a lot of two tight end sets. You're going to see both these guys on the field a lot, I think, too.
And they
Shane
complement
Waldron,
each other so well.
for sure. Yeah, and it's almost identical to what the Rams had last year. Obviously, Gerald Everett's one of the players that they had last year, but Tyler Higbee, I think, is he's a pretty similar player to Will Dissly, probably a little bit better of a receiving threat, but Will Dissly's a little bit better of a blocker, I'd say. And like you said, Justin, Will Dissly was injured, coming off a major injury, obviously last year. And usually it's one of those injuries that takes kind of 2 seasons to get back to form. So I think that he could have a little bit more of a breakout season this year and kind of come back to form what he's used to. So
I'm sure Sam in my fantasy league will draft him in an auction draft for $1, like he does
Will
every
Dissly?
year. Yeah,
he's my guy.
I noticed we also have a difference between myself and you and Connor about Dwayne Eskridge and Freddie Swain. I think this is grasping at straws, though. I mean, I think that in an ideal world with no injuries, I think Dwayne Eskridge is probably a little more explosive and someone that they'd want in the lineup.
Yeah.
But who knows what that looks like. So that I'm not that strong on personally.
Yeah. And honestly, I'll be curious to see if Connor has the same thoughts on this as I do. I would, in a perfect world, Dwayne Eskridge would be my pick here, but I know he's been battling with some injury stuff. I saw him suit up for practice. I don't know if he played in the preseason game. Did he?
No, I think he practiced like yesterday or today. I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, which was surprising to me because I thought there were rumors going around that he was going to start the season on the PUP list. So I wasn't sure. Like I threw him in there because I think that's who everyone wants to be our third receiver, but I'm not sure what his injury situation is. So I think if he's not able to take that spot, I would go with Freddie Swain, which I don't love at the third spot, but that was my thought process.
So I got 2 things for you. So the D. Eskridge situation, which I guess he likes to go by D instead of Dwayne.
My bad, Mr. Eskridge.
No,
we all did that.
I just saw this on Twitter today, so this is new news to me as well. But I'm throwing that out there. Anyway, he just got activated yesterday, I believe, and so it was his first practice yesterday off of the PUP. He's had this toe injury. I'm still not sold that he's actually going to be healthy come start of the year. They're pretty confident in it. But I'm a little bit wary. It's like a toe injury, and they got like something to put in his shoe that I guess alleviates the pain that he was experiencing. So it seems like kind of a Band-Aid solution to me, and I don't know what is going to really come of that long term. Hopefully it's fine, and hopefully he can get to the other side of the season and then see what the deal is with his toe. But this seems like a managing situation for sure. So I don't know if his snap counts are going to be limited even at the start of the season. Obviously, we drafted him to be our third receiver, right? Like that was the idea in drafting him in the 2nd round. So anything less than that, I think, is a disappointment for him, even in his rookie year. And so him being kind of nicked up going into the season is not an ideal situation. That being said, Freddie Swain, I think we're underrating him a little bit. Like I think he's a better player than we're probably giving him credit for. Do you guys not feel that way?
No.
What has he shown? I mean, I'm not saying he can't be a good player, but I think he hasn't really shown much to date. So I wouldn't.
I mean, he's still young, right?
I wouldn't fall on that sword quite yet.
Let me look at his stats from last year. But like, what did you see from him that doesn't like that concerns you? Like, I know that's my argument against that, Sam, is that I didn't see anything last year that would like concern me. I would think.
Did you? I mean, I don't mean to be a smart ass, but like the same question back to be like, what did he do to make you excited? Nothing.
I mean,
he was a good special teamer.
No, he was in the passing game, dude. Like, I mean, he had like 5 or 6 touchdowns.
He had 2, right?
Yeah, maybe.
No,
I don't think 5 or 6. No way. I'll be shook if he had
confirm
5 or
that for me,
6.
Connor. I agree with Sam to an extent. I mean, I don't remember him being that exciting or creating separation or whatnot. I remember
like I said, he had 2 touchdowns.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
So I don't know. It doesn't excite me. That doesn't mean he can't be good, right? Because this is his 2nd year. So, he could have got a lot better off the offseason and et cetera. But I mean, just from what I saw and his skill sets, it doesn't excite me as much as
here's what I'll say.
I don't think he's okay. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
No, that's fine. You seem passionate. Go for it.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is he was a 4th wide receiver last year, so he didn't really get
That's what I was going to say.
that much snaps. So I mean, if he got increased snaps, would he be better?
Maybe.
He seems
and
like
I think
a
we'll
decent
find out.
route runner. He's been open every time he's been thrown to. I don't think he's had a drop. I've never seen a drop from him.
Yeah,
so
I
these
think
are the things that I'm talking about. That I've seen things that's maybe he could be a 3rd wide receiver. I mean, I think ideally is your 4 or 5, but if you're talking about it, you're gonna have a huge drop off from DK and Tyler no matter what.
Yeah,
and you're hoping that D. Eskridge can be at least a solid option, better than David Moore. But
so that was going to be my point too. I don't think that he's had enough opportunities to really have an opinion on him.
Right.
And so I'm not saying that I think he's going to bomb and not be good, but he also hasn't really shown me anything to get excited about. And then I think if I'm going to be a glass half empty kind of guy, I didn't really love what I saw from David Moore last year either. And so if Freddie Swain wasn't better than David Moore, I don't know.
I mean, do you really trust the Seahawks personnel decisions all the time?
I don't think they're that bad. I mean, who would be what's an example of a bad personnel decision?
I guess
it's not. We're talking about the Hawks, not Bob.
Yeah, there's
Gregory
definitely more
Huskies here. Yeah, we'll get to that. But I mean, I don't know. We're probably beating a dead horse on this one at this point. But
sure,
I think we'll get decent production from the 3rd wide receiver. But at the end of the day, to your point, it's going to be DK and Tyler Lockett all day. I mean, Chris Carson's a hell of a receiver out of the backfield as well, I think.
I think your tight end's probably your 3rd receiver too, right? It's going to be Gerald Everett probably.
Yeah.
Will Dissly might even get more targets than your 3rd wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Dwayne Eskridge can have an impact on this.
Actually, Connor, he prefers to go by D. Eskridge. Just saying.
You got me there.
Anything else to call out on the offense, or should we address these questions? Because we do
have a couple questions. Yeah.
We've got a real interesting one from my wife. Thanks for contributing.
Yeah. I'll put it up here on the screen here. So I want your guys' opinions on this, as Caroline's face is right over Sam right now.
I know
which Seahawk would win a greased watermelon competition? We could have a sparkly debate on this.
I mean, these are the questions we're here for, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the goal. This is I think where we shine is these types of questions and these types of debates.
Prefacing our answers, have any of you actually participated in a greased watermelon competition?
I have not.
I have. So clearly my answer is going to hold the most weight here. I honestly have. My dad used to do it at Lake Wenatchee with all my cousins. Get a big old thing of Crisco, lather that watermelon up, and we had a field day.
Did you win?
No. Technicality.
Clearly, your experience doesn't matter that much.
Let's just say I carried the watermelon pretty much all the way to the shore, and then my big ass cousin Nick basically tackled me, lost handle of it, and I'm pretty sure my sister picked it up, and she won, and then I got pissed, and I'm pretty sure I broke the watermelon and ruined the day for everybody. So it's not my best moment. But anyways, getting back to the actual question.
So back to the question.
I don't know. Chris Carson has a fumbling
who do I
issue,
want
so
to
I
start
probably
this?
wouldn't go with him.
Smart.
Yeah.
Russell's got some big old hands. He's got some mitts. He might be able to handle it.
Hold on, Sam. I'm sorry if I missed it. Like, what is the basis of a greased watermelon competition? Like, what is the goal here?
Okay, here's how it goes down. At least this is how we're gonna define it for our purposes here. The administrator of the contest greases a watermelon with Crisco. They carry it into the water, a body of water, typically a lake. Everybody starts on the beach, and then it's like a countdown: 3, 2, 1, run. Everybody runs into the water, and you're basically fighting over a greased watermelon. And you have to, whoever is the person that maintains possession of the watermelon and has 2 feet on the dry beach wins.
Okay. So it's like it's okay. Got it. I mean, I think I know my answer, but mine probably is the
start
same
us
as
off,
whatever
Connor.
you guys
Who is
do.
it?
DK.
No, DK
Again, a
fumbles too
fumbling
much.
issue, though. Yeah.
It's Russ. Russ has got this big time.
Nah.
What?
Tyler
No,
Lockett,
dude.
maybe?
No, let me tell you.
No, he's too
you're both
small.
wrong.
Like,
Let me
you-
tell
you
you.
gotta
No.
ha-
I know who it is. I know who it is. What am I thinking? That's big country Will Dissly. That boy's been in some greased watermelon contests. Guaranteed.
And he wouldn't wear gloves. He wouldn't wear
No.
gloves.
I'm going
He
Will
probably
Dissly
has.
for sure.
He probably has. You're probably right.
He for sure has.
So just based on my one encounter of running into Bobby Wagner at an LA Fitness, the guy is massive and can move mountains. I don't think anyone's taking the watermelon from him, boys. Once Bobby gets his hands on that watermelon, I don't know if anyone, including Big Will Dissly, is getting that. I think that's a great answer, though. I was thinking of him. But I have a hard time thinking Will Dissly's gonna take it over Bobby Wagner. I really do.
I just don't know about the ball carrying aspect. Of
Yeah.
Well, it
Bobby
doesn't
Wagner
matter.
having
I
it.
mean, Bobby's got that. Probably
No.
crushed the watermelon on accident.
No, this is a game where big biceps are going to work against you because you're not going to be able to, get a good grasp on it if your biceps are in the way. And Bobby's too jacked. He's too strong.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He might crush the watermelon on accident.
Well, then he's
So
DQ'd.
DK would be in the same boat then, right? Like, I mean, he's as jacked as Jack gets. I was trying to think of like overall athlete who could like stiff arm a mother effer to the ground to get back to shore with 2 feet on the ground. Like I'm trying to think of like who could like evade the most and take on the most like people coming at them.
But here's the thing: the most
That
athletic
was my answer was DK.
The most athletic people are going to go get the watermelon in the beginning, but aren't the fat O linemen going to sit by the shore and wait for it to get close and then try to get it then, right?
I guess that's a tactic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that what
That's
you
why
see? Is that what you've seen? Like is that what kind of happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You send out your little pawns, which
Yeah.
was me, to go get the watermelon. And I think Will Dissly, again, I think the experience is going to come in at the end and he's going to take the cake.
Yeah.
He knows how the game is played,
see it.
baby.
I could see it, especially if he has experience. I get that. So that's what a question. Thank you, Caroline, for that question. That was great. And your dad, Daddy Sam, has a question about which toe. I'm pretty sure he's talking about D. Eskridge. I actually don't know, and I've looked up like multiple articles, and none of them specify whether it's his left or right. So I'm not sure.
What, he only has a left and a right toe?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's his big toe. I
Well,
guess.
then that's the answer to the question.
Yeah. My bad. Jesus, I look like an idiot right now. I'm gonna go ahead and drink my whiskey in the corner.
Oh, jeez.
Where were we on the depth chart, guys?
We were.
I don't think we got to defense yet.
Yeah, I
No,
mean, I think we
we were-
breezed over. I mean, mostly
Offensive line a
offense.
little bit. Hold on. We have one
Yeah.
disagreement on center.
Yeah.
Main reason that I have this disagreement here with you guys is I think Posick is probably the favorite if everyone's healthy, but Posic's
Yeah.
not healthy right now. He's got a lingering hamstring injury. Sounds like Kyle Fuller's been getting the majority of the 1 snaps. And the articles that I've seen written is basically that Posic's got to earn his spot back once he's back, which he could, but who knows when he's actually going to be back and healthy. Hamstring injuries linger like that. I mean, that might be an all year issue for him. So we'll see what happens there. He's obviously like kind of mostly being held out of practice right now. He's not going to play in the preseason game. So maybe he gets healed up enough for the first game, but I'm betting money on Kyle Fuller right now at center, but everything else, I think we're in agreement on there.
Yeah. I'm not, I mean, I think Posick is probably the weakest link on the line anyway. So,
Well, unless we don't have Dwayne Brown, but yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be a problem for sure.
Yeah.
But I think all of us have him in there. I think I have faith in the Seahawks organization to get their left tackle on the field. So, all right, defensive tackle, we're all in agreement. Poona Ford, Al Woods. Anyone else you want to mention there though? Like I mean, there's D-line rotates, so like there's going to be some other guys that obviously factor in. Robert Kimdiche, I kind of mentioned earlier.
Monet played a role last year.
Monet, yep. Monet
So
definitely
he'd
factor
get
in.
snaps.
So those are some names to watch out for too. Especially I would imagine one or both of those guys should be playing in the preseason at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw Poona didn't play. I don't think Al Woods played either this last game. So we'll see who else factors in. Rasheem Green gets snaps kind of at both, so he's another guy that can kind of factor in. Same with LJ Collier. He kind of gets snaps at both. They're kind of hybrid guys. Even Kerry Hyder, I think, could shift inside if he wanted to. But I think mostly he's going to be playing D end. All right, D end, we do actually have a little bit of some interplay. I'm interested by your answer here, Sam, because all reports that I've heard is that Darrell Taylor is an outside linebacker in this scheme.
Is he? I'm not. I've been confused with like the defensive end and outside linebackers with the Seahawks.
They drafted him as a defensive end. Then he was out all last year, and I think he's trimmed down a little bit. And they're thinking that he's going to be more like a Bruce Irvin outside linebacker role, like kind of a Sam linebacker. So I think his biggest trait coming in was his pass rush skills. So it would be, the Seahawks would be fools not to incorporate that into what they want him to do on defense. But I don't think he's probably your starting defensive end there. You got a proven commodity in Carlos Dunlap is all I'm saying. So
yeah, I got a little confused here.
It's okay. It's okay.
We
all get confused. I just got confused. What did I just do? I don't even remember.
Oh yeah,
I put it out
apparently,
of my memory bank.
D. Eskridge only has 2 toes.
Only has 2 toes. Exactly. See? You're not
we
the
got
only
a left
dumb
one and a right one.
Is it his left or his right toe? Yeah.
Oh,
so that's
man.
me.
Yeah, no, that's my miss on Carlos Dunlap for sure. He's going to obviously be a starter at DN.
Thank you, Daddy Sam.
Is it the big toe or the little piggy?
I'm pretty sure it's a big toe injury. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not positive though. I'm pretty sure it's a big toe injury. All right. Where are we at here? Defensive end. Any other defensive ends that you guys want to call out here? I already called kind of out Alton Robinson. I think I do think he's going to take he honestly had a really good rookie season, especially for a 5th round draft pick. I think he ended up with like 5 sacks. Like he could take it. I could easily see him getting double-digit sacks this year if he's a part of the rotation. So,
yeah, I think so too.
That's cool.
And he was a hot name going into the season last year too as a rookie. So I think if he's continuing to put the building blocks together, that's definitely a name to watch out for. But I also think this is probably a good time to address Ryan and Julie's question.
Sure. I'll put it up.
Will the D line be able to rush the passer with 3 or 4, or are we going to have to cover our ass off? And I honestly think it's probably the latter. I think you're still going to see us. I don't know. Is it Darrell or Darrell? Darrell Taylor?
It's kind of Darrell Taylor.
Yeah, Darrell Taylor's like kind of the X factor there. I'm not totally sure what he's going to bring, and that could be an answer. But outside of Carlos Dunlap, I don't really see like a proven pass rusher with their hand in the ground. I
Yeah.
still think you're going to see a lot of Jamal Adams down in the box, rushing the passer. And so you're taking one of your coverage guys to rush the passer. You're going to have to cover your ass off. That's just the way that it is.
That could happen, Sam. I mean, Ken Norton's even come out and said, I blitzed Jamal Adams too much. Like, I don't think their plan going into this season is to blitz Jamal Adams as much as they did last year. Like, I think they're trusting that this defensive front can get pressure on the quarterback. And Carlos Dunlap made a huge difference last year in that category. I think they continue to blitz Jamal because I think that's kind of just like what they were doing as a scheme at that point. I don't think that's their plan going into this season, though. Like, I think Carlos is obviously like your Leo, like, main pass rusher. Kerry Hyder's a really good complement to that because he's a really like high motor, high energy guy. He might not get the sack numbers, but he's really disruptive. If you go and watch his highlights with the Niners, like that's what he keys on. He's able to get pressure in the backfield and throw quarterbacks off of their routine and, like, get them kind of out of the pocket and stuff. So I like that. And yeah, you add someone like Darrell Taylor to the mix. I think you're right, Sam. I think something like that could definitely be a factor in them being able to not utilize safety blitzes specifically so much, is being able to use him as a blitzer. And Bobby's a really good blitzer too. So I'm hoping that they use more linebacker blitzes than pulling down Jamal into the box. And I really want Jamal to really take hold of that safety position and be a true safety this year, be an enforcer at the line because he's a strong safety. But I want to see more coverage from him this year, and that's what I'm hoping. So I know that I kind of cut you off there, Justin. So I want to hear your thoughts as well,
though. Yeah, I mean, I still think we're gonna see Jamal Adams blitz. I won't be at the rate probably what you're saying as we saw it last year, but I still think he's going to be in and around the box. I think that's what makes him dangerous and why we paid him so much money. So he'll be there. I don't know. I don't think we'll get home with 3, like Ryan and Julie were posing, like some teams can do. I'm hopeful for 4, but I think it's kind of a wait and see. There's a lot of X factors in there, and will teams adjust to having Carlos Dunlap, and can Kerry Hyder and Darrell Taylor and others really carry the load and get to the quarterback? I think that's the big question.
Carry the load. I get it. I'm picking up on what you're putting down.
Well done. I mean, we're not even like talking about the defensive tackles here. I mean, the biggest loss on the defensive line is what's his name? Jaron Reed. So obviously he's with the Chiefs now, and he was a pretty good pass rusher, especially complementing off of another pass rusher like Carlos Dunlap. So Poona Ford's obviously gonna have to step up. Al Woods isn't really known as a pass rusher, so I think if you're seeing other pass rush from the defensive tackle position, you're talking about Robert Nkemdiche.
Yeah.
He's obviously shown that in the past, flashes of it at least. Brian Monet a little bit, but I think it's going to be Poona and Nkemdiche from the inside. I guess Rasheem Green, if he slides inside, he's a pass rush option there as well. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I like the state of the defensive line a lot more this year going into next year. Than last year. Like last year, I thought it was awful going into the year. But I think even just having a piece like Carlos Dunlap, like edge rusher, just makes the whole group better. And Kerry Hyder's better than LJ Collier too. So like that's an upgrade as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely continuing the trend of last season, right? Like we couldn't rush the passer worth a damn before we got Jamal and Carlos Dunlap in there. You throw in the mix Kerry Hyder, Darrell Taylor, Robert Nkemdiche. It's only going to be better than it was last year, but in some degree, maybe that's not saying too much. But
right,
I think it will have a better balanced defense next year for sure.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. All right, let's move on to linebackers. Justin.
Yeah.
You want to comment on your outside Sam linebacker?
Clearly there's a hope there, right? And
Yeah.
wishing that he's back on a deal.
Are you putting cart before the horse there a little bit?
A
Or
little bit, probably.
I
But
mean, you're
you know,
putting
I'm
someone there that's not on the roster yet. I remember a KJ Wright, but I didn't see him on this year's roster. So
Not yet.
not yet.
all right, smart ass. What I'm saying though is I think that,
Love it.
Thank you.
I think you know, with some of that cap money we saved with Jamal Adams, can we re-sign? Clearly, we can re-sign KJ right now. We have enough money. I mean, he's clearly not a hot commodity as he's still a free agent out there, and so he's not going to go for a lot of money. He was on House Hunters in a show looking for a house in this area not long ago. So he has.
Was he really? Oh, I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, there's a
I'll
whole
have to check that out.
That's Justin doing his research before the podcast right there.
So, I mean, I think that, you know, there's a chance that he's back. I mean, he's familiar with the system, and I think it guarantees him the highest chance of success and play time, et cetera. Because think if he goes to another team that he's been rumored with, say it was the Giants at one point or the Raiders or et cetera, he doesn't know if he's going to interact or, you know, have as much chemistry with those players. And he can come back to something that he's familiar with if the Seahawks are able to offer as much as some of the other teams. So that's my hope. Obviously, unsure if that does happen, of course. And if it doesn't, then it's probably a Darrell Taylor, Cody Barton situation.
Right. Yeah, I would love for KJ to be back. I'm just, if it hasn't happened at this point, like maybe they're gonna wait till week 2 to sign him. Like, and maybe he's willing to wait to hold out till then. Because if you wait till after week 1, then the contract is not guaranteed, or like it doesn't go against the salary cap as much or something. Like there's some kind of thing there. I know that they sign veterans like after week 1 a lot of the times because of that. So maybe KJ is like a week 2 signing if they don't like what they have there. Another name to watch out for a week 2 signing would be someone like Richard Sherman. Obviously, he kind of has his off the field issues going on right now. Yeah. But I still think he's still trying to play football is how I understand it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a week 2 signing somewhere as well. Seahawks are a candidate for that. But getting back to the linebacker debate, with who's on the roster right now, the same linebacker I think is Darrell Taylor at this point. At least that's the narrative that they're feeding. Justin, you mentioned Cody Barton. You have Cody Barton here, Sam, as one of your outside linebackers. The other guy that you have here is Ben Burkervin, though, former Husky. And he had like 11 tackles, I think, in the first half in the preseason game on Saturday against the Raiders. So little shout out to BBK there. I don't know if you wanted to further upon you having him on this list or.
No, I think it also just comes with my confusion on where Darrell Taylor's actually going to end up playing. If he's going to be in that outside linebacker position, I think he definitely brings more to the defense than either Cody Barton or BBK.
Yeah.
But if it's not him and we don't re-sign KJ, I think you're looking at a BBK Cody Barton situation. I think BBK is for sure going to be on the team just from a special teams perspective. He's really fast and covers really well. I think he's a solid player, but I wouldn't feel great, even, you know, with my purple and gold lenses on, I wouldn't feel great with him as my starting NFL outside linebacker, but I think he can do some nice things. But I guess the more that I'm learning about Darrell Taylor and where he's actually going to line up, I think that makes a lot of sense. And Justin's making a lot of sense with the KJ Wright thing. I think that's more of a realistic option than we all thought it was. And, you know, maybe that's the genius of John Schneider and working that deal with Jamal and being able to free up some cap space, you know, playing a little bit of a game of chess and thinking a couple moves ahead. So I think we would all love to see KJ back in the Seahawks uniform, and that would round out this defense really well. Because right now, I think regardless if it's Ben Burkervin, Cody Barton, or Darrell Taylor, I don't know that any of us feel awesome about that.
None of them are proven commodities, right? Like Cody Barton's looked good in spurts, I'd say. Darrell Taylor, we obviously haven't even really seen yet. And
Yeah.
BBK is just really small. Like he gets
Yeah.
pushed around out there. Like he flies to the ball and he's really active and stuff. But as soon as a lineman gets his hands on him, like
Yeah, it's
he's kind of
tough.
done for. So I think he'd be kind of a liability out there. I think, Cody Barton, Gerald Taylor, again, they're pretty unproven commodities though as well. So if you get KJ back, that would definitely solidify that linebacking core. Moving on to cornerback, a little bit of disagreement here. I think we're all in agreement that Akello Witherspoon is definitely going to be a factor
Yeah.
here at outside corner, and the practice reports would also agree with that as well. That he's been getting a lot of first team snaps. He looks good. He's making plays out there. So I think that's going to be a sneaky good signing. Probably like we might look back at that as the signing of the offseason, honestly.
He's such a good
Trey,
fit for the defense.
well, and for like on the deal that he's on too, like given that context, right? Like it's a 1 year, $4 million prove it deal. And you did that instead of extending Shaquille Griffin, who's
Yeah.
getting paid nearly $15 million a year. So like that would be great. And I mean, if he has a good year, I think we would try to probably re-sign him. Hopefully he likes Seattle enough that like we could like not give him the biggest deal ever, but we'll see. The second corner position, we do have a little bit of disagreement here though, Sam. And I know that Trey Flowers was the starting cornerback with Akello. Those are two of the starters that actually did play in the preseason game. So he did get some reps there. I think DJ Reed was hurt though, and I think is still kind of coming off of an injury, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if that factored into your decision here, or if you just like, or if you just like the bigger, longer corner aspect of having a Trey Flowers in that position.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because I mean, based on last year, you definitely go DJ Reed, right? DJ Reed was solid for us when he came in towards the end of the year.
Yep.
But I don't know. I just got a feeling about Trey Flowers. I don't know why. I do like his length and athleticism, especially opposite Witherspoon. That's some imposing size at the corner position. And then maybe does DJ Reed factor into that nickel conversation with Marquis Blair, who's obviously been hyped a lot by Pete Carroll and the coaches, but again, a guy that's had some injury issues and hasn't really shown anything come game day. So I don't know. Similar to like defensive end, outside linebacker, a little bit of a good problem to have here when you've got 4 guys in 3 positions that I think we all feel somewhat decently about. I know Trey Flowers has had his troubles in the past, but I think he's also shown flashes of being a really good player as well. So I think between Witherspoon, Flowers, Reed, Marquis Blair, I think you got 4 guys for 3 positions. It's a pretty good problem to have, in my opinion. And I just kind of like did a coin toss and went Trey Flowers.
Yeah. Does Trey Brown factor into the mix at any of these corner positions for you guys, or do you think he's purely a special teamer in his first year?
I don't know. I think that's a tall task to beat out any of those 4 guys as a rookie. Yeah. But it could be. I mean, it for sure could happen. I'm not super familiar with Brown's game from Oklahoma. I mean,
and I don't think he played in the game either, too. So I mean, he'd be fighting an uphill battle at this point if you were to factor in.
Yeah.
The only other guy that I want to call out. Sorry, go ahead, Justin. No,
I think it's possible. I mean, I personally haven't been super sold on Trey Flowers. I think he's been shown to be a liability at times. So I think it's a big prove it year for him. And if Trey Flowers doesn't live up, especially if DJ Reed starts in that outside spot, I think you could see Trey Brown playing some nickel time.
Yeah. And that's the other position that I wanted to bring up here. Is we all have Marquis Blair here, and I think that's like in an ideal world, that is your starting nickel. I know that he was a little bit banged up a couple days ago as well. So we'll see what happens there, but I'm hoping it's not serious. It doesn't sound serious from Pete's comments, but you just kind of never know with Pete. Hugo Amadi is obviously a guy that factored in last year at this position. I mean, do you think like even if Blair comes back healthy, like Hugo could beat him out? I mean, he obviously has way more experience than Blair does at this point as far as NFL game time. But I mean, I know that Blair has way higher upside. I think if we're talking just upside, he's a little bit of a bigger body. He's way more physical.
Yeah.
Which I think they like from that position as well. And he's got better size to him, I think, just overall in that position. So
I think it'll be really interesting to see how the defensive backfield shapes up, because even with all the praise that we've gotten, I mean, we've obviously all bought into it here with Marquis Blair. But I remember when we drafted him and in his rookie season, coming into the season, everyone was like, yeah, he looks great at nickel. And Marquis Blair's from Utah. So as a Husky fan, we're familiar with him. And I thought that was really interesting that he looked so good at nickel, because when he was at Utah, he played safety and he was in more of that like thumper, strong safety role. And so like, without seeing him in the nickel spot, I'm still feeling like I kind of have to see it to believe it a little bit.
sure.
I don't know if he has the quicks for it. I mean, obviously the coaches know what they're doing better than I do, but it'll be awesome to have a big body down in the box like that for run support. So I think there's things to definitely be enticing with that. But I think there's a lot of guys that could factor into this defensive backfield. Then it'll just be interesting to see how it shapes up. But I think it'll be a good problem to have when you have a number of bodies for fewer positions.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be. I think that's one of the more intriguing positions on defense to watch for, just because I think there's a few guys there that could factor into the nickel role. But yeah, I mean, Marquis Blair was a second-round draft pick, and they drafted him to be a starter in this defense, right? And he was drafted as a safety, but like you said, Sam, he's been mostly working at nickel since he's really been getting proper snaps. I think he was injured his full first year, and then last year he was getting nickel snaps and got injured, I think, in the second game. So he hasn't gotten really playing time at all. So I'm hopeful. I mean, he's like a practice report champion, though. Like everyone's always just like, yeah, Marquis Blair, like this guy's gonna be so good. So, but you gotta see it on game day. So hopefully he's able to either get or stay healthy. I guess both. And factor into the season, because I mean, people were talking about him being like kind of the difference maker in the defense last year. Like, and when he went down, it sounded like that kind of their plans went a little bit awry with how they were scheming things. So anyway, any other Seahawks topics that you guys want to cover before we shift to Huskies?
I think we've covered a lot of it. I mean, we could go into like schedule preview or, talk about things, but I feel like we've gone an hour on Seahawks, so it might be time to shift focus to the Dogs.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll have another one of these at some point soon too. And we'll for sure obviously be recording podcasts before the Seahawks season starts. So we'll get all of our thoughts on paper as far as our predictions and stuff for the season, looking at the schedule. We did a little bit of that, I think, when the schedule first came out, but obviously like things have changed since then, especially our first week opponent. We don't know if their quarterback's going to play with the Colts. And it might be Eason season. We'll see.
He looked really good.
He looked really
good.
Yeah.
PFF's highest rated quarterback from week 1. I know you guys love
gotta love preseason. Well, you gotta love preseason heroes too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys pan out. So.
Oh yeah.
But it was obviously good to see Jacob do well in the preseason game, and hopefully it all pans out for him. I mean, a 4th round draft pick, not exactly what he was planning for, but he landed in a good spot, I think. So, all right, Huskies guys. Sam, I feel like we should probably talk like some of the other topics, kind of like
first
Seahawks first before we get into the depth chart.
Yeah. We got
some
a lot.
Good, some bad. It's a lot. It's a lot of two. This whole offseason has just been like 2 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, or like 2 steps forward, 1 step backward, 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards. Like it's It's so frustrating, and we've the word that we've always come back to is momentum, right? There's been no momentum on this for this Husky team.
Yeah, it's been a bad off season
for the last year and a half, and Jimmy Lake's for sure been dealt a rough hand. But at the same time, there's some clues here that like he might just not really be getting it done, and specifically with recruiting. And I know that let me back up a little bit. We're gonna have a really good team this year. We're gonna have a really good team this year, right? Like you've talked about this blue chip ratio. We have a really high blue chip ratio right now. A lot of the key pieces that we got in like the 2018, 2019 classes that were really, really good.
Yeah.
Are going to be playing this year. And we're just going to start to see like the fruits of the labor there. We're going to be really good this year. We're probably going to be really good next year. After that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. We'll probably be good in 2023, but like a lot of that depends on how the recruiting is going right now.
Yeah.
And so don't really like, for sure winning like helps everything, but don't really like judge Jimmy Lake if the Huskies do really well this year, because these aren't really his recruits at this point. These are Chris Peterson's recruits. These are the guys that Chris Peterson recruited. Where you're really going to see the true test of if Jimmy Lake is a really good college coach and can like a formidable coach that can be here for a decade if he wanted to. You're going to have to see it in 2023, 2024, and 25. And that starts with the recruiting right now. And he's doing a shit job, to be frank, of it right now. And I know that we've had there's a lot of factors at work here. There's a lot of factors at work.
Oh, wow, I know this is getting good already.
Well, there's a lot of factors at work here, though, right? Like,
you let me know when
I will have you jump in because I know you feel a lot of the same thoughts that I'm portraying right now.
Yeah, I think I'm directing it in a slightly different direction, but keep going.
Okay. Well, that goes back to what I'm saying, though. There's a lot of different factors at work. NIL is a huge new thing.
Yeah.
And our brothers down north.
Brothers,
Oregon.
Fuck that. No way. Okay. That's a disowned.
Down north. The Effers down north.
Yeah.
They are taking full advantage, and they are them having a hand in hand with Phil Knight and Nike is exactly the recipe for success with this NIL era, right? Like, I mean, that is what you're looking for, as far as a recruiting aspect. They are killing it in recruiting right now, and the Huskies are not. And I think that's what hurts the most right now is that it's really Oregon that's like turning our recruiting bad. Like as far as like as if you're looking at perspective, right? Like Oregon's killing it and they're our biggest rival and we're doing shitty. And a lot of we've had now 4 official decommits and 2 of those guys are likely to go to Oregon at this point.
Yeah.
It's not good, man. It's not good. Like this is not a good trend. All right, Sam.
It's definitely not good. I feel like you probably pointed a lot of your frustrations maybe unfairly to Jimmy Lake. I think it's a bigger issue than the head coach, and I think it is a image issue with the University of Washington as an academic institution. And so where football is going, and this is, people are going to quickly find out why Chris Peterson retired, quote unquote, early, is he didn't want to deal with any of this shit. He didn't want to deal with NIL. He didn't want to deal with rolling up his sleeves and getting bloody in the recruiting games that Oregon plays. But that's just the reality of today's college football landscape. And I think Jimmy Lake could probably do better than what we've seen to date if he was given the same tools that other schools have been given. And what I mean by that is it's no secret to anybody that Oregon has basically gotten a blank check from Phil Knight and Nike. They've been paying players even before NIL. They're paying players, above the table now. And, UW is, oh yeah, we're in Seattle. We've got all these great, big corporations and NIL opportunities, and we're selling it like it's some sort of learning opportunity for these kids. Like you can have these business connections with Starbucks and Amazon and Microsoft and Nordstrom and Costco and you name them all, or these internship opportunities. And it's these high school kids don't give a shit about that. They want an easy payday. They just want the check.
An
And
endorsement.
yeah, they just want to be able to cash in on their clout, their followers on Twitter and Instagram, and get a shoe deal or whatever it is. And I don't blame them, but that's just the reality of today's world. And we're selling NIL like they're actually going to have to work for the money they're getting paid. And that's not resonating with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that probably haven't worked a day in their life besides playing football. And so I think we've missed the boat on NIL in a major way. And I don't think that's Jimmy Lake's fault. I think he has a hand in it, but I don't think it's like, I don't think he's been given a free lane to run in like other coaches at other teams.
Sure. I mean, he's in charge of that turning around though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
like
him
if
and
it's
Jen
going to
Cohen.
change, yeah, if it's going to change, it's going to be coming from him, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we continue to see recruiting woes that we've seen, it's his job to escalate that to his superior and Jen Cohen, and she's got to go fight the good fight with upper campus. But I think UW likes the image of being, a public Ivy League and try to, be this elitist school. And I don't think that's going to work in the future of tomorrow's college football landscape. And so I think we need to just have the hard conversation of like, what do we actually want to do?
Right.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake in my eyes too. And another one I was really curious to see earlier today, and I texted you about this, but curious to get more of expanded thoughts on this, is that Jordan Raffett, a former Husky, tweeted today about the Husky fan base. And I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but I'm just going to read what he said. He said that the Husky fan base is so toxic. Are all fan bases like this? As a former player and huge supporter of Coach Lake and my dogs, it's a huge problem. It doesn't help. It doesn't, quote, hold anybody to a higher standard, end quote. It sure as hell doesn't make recruits want to interact with y'all. So to pose the question to you two, do you think it's more of a small percentage, which is likely true, of just being the loudest on Twitter? Or do you think there is something to Husky fans in particular being more toxic in driving recruits away versus other schools that we're competing with?
Do you want to take that, or I can go, Connor?
I mean, the only thing that I'm going to say is that, and I've said this before, every fan base for sure has their bad fans. I think particularly with the Huskies, that going along with what you were saying, Sam, I think Husky fans also take kind of an elitist approach sometimes to a lot of things. And it's a little bit of like a spoiled brat type attitude with that realms between Husky fans, I think sometimes. So when we see a school from Eugene, right, doing well, and we're like, we're from Seattle, like we should be like way better than them type thing. There's a lot of that, I think, amongst Husky fans. I don't know what you think, Sam. That would just be my take on that. Like I definitely could see that Husky fans are probably worse than a lot of other fan bases when it comes to that aspect. But I don't know what your feelings are.
Yeah, I disagree. I think every fan base is toxic when things aren't going their way, or, I hate the word toxic, but I feel like every fan base, I mean, if you have passionate fans and things aren't going well, they're going to be pissed and they're going to let you know about it, especially the loud few on social media. And, things
Is there
are
a
going...
difference between passion and toxicity though? Like in the age of social media, so like there's a lot of people out there that are just looking for something to hate on. Are there more of those with Husky fans?
No, I don't think so. I just think it's unfortunate timing, and it falls in line with the theme of one step forward, 2 steps back, or 2 steps forward,
Right.
1 step back. And I
I think
think
we had a really,
if
really
we don't,
frustrating offseason.
yeah, and I think we're just like get to the damn season. We're gonna have a kick-ass team, and to answer whoever Go Hawks is, I don't know if they deleted their messages here or whatever. What place do you think the Huskies finish in the Pac-12 North this year? 5th or 6th? Yeah, who is this? Some Coug fan, I'm sure.
Hey, it's a listener. It's a loyal listener. Thank you for tuning in.
I don't appreciate.
I'm trying to get the subscriptions here, Sam.
I don't need that subscription. We're gonna finish first. There's no way.
Not to beat a dead horse, but
yeah,
Mike Varell, who's the Husky reporter for the Seattle Times, commented on Jordan Raffet's post and said he's covered 3 college teams, and by far the Huskies are the most toxic. So I think it's just showing in its recency bias, obviously, that we've had.
I didn't think he said that.
Yeah, he said the Huskies by far have the most toxic.
I thought he said absolutely yes, and I thought he was responding to the first part of the question, like, are other schools as toxic as UW? And he said absolutely yes. I interpreted the other way.
All right, maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not sure.
So anyway, there's an interesting tidbit that I wanted your guys' answer.
I guess I interpreted a different way, but who knows? I don't think it was super clear. But I don't think so. I mean, think about all the other team. Think about any other team that you're a fan of, and like when things go south, it's like, oh, fire Darrell Bevel or fire Jerry DePoto. Like, what the fuck's he doing trading Graveman? You know what I mean?
Just think of college. I mean, Michigan. I mean, they have such high expectations. They haven't done anything.
Texas. They're going through coaches like gumballs out of a gumball machine. It's like, come on. I think it's normal. I think if we don't get the COVID bite at the end of the year and we won the Pac-12 North, people, like, why are we forgetting that?
Do you think that we go down to Eugene and beat Oregon?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So then
I feel like people, this is kind of getting ahead of what we're actually talking about tonight, but Oregon obviously has a lot of good talent, but I feel like people are overlooking the most important position on the field, which is quarterback, and they don't really have one, to my understanding.
No.
So
Oregon's going to flop this year. I think Oregon's going to be a very dangerous team probably next year. They've got a really good incoming freshman quarterback out of high school. Ty Thompson is really a promising prospect. So if he's able to play really well as a true freshman, then I'll be happy to eat crow. They've recruited really well. They have a hell of a roster. They're going to be a really competitive team in years to come. But in 2021 season, like, unless Ty Thompson's really the real deal as an 18, 19-year-old, like, their defense wasn't good last year. It's not going to be good this year. They've got I think Travis Dye is back as a good running back. But, I mean, I don't –
they're linebacker or running back because they're brothers, right?
Yeah, Troy Dye. Yeah, Troy Dye was the linebacker, I believe, and he's gone. He's in the NFL. But
the running back's still
running back's still there. I just don't know how you can look at that Oregon roster based off of their season last year and think that that's a top 10 team. Like, whoever's putting them in the top 10 is outside their goddamn mind. Like, there's just no way.
Well, they're 11 in the AP. So.
Yeah, which means that a lot of people put them in the top 10.
Some, yes, for sure. Yeah.
So
some put the Huskies in the top 10 too, I will say.
What are we, 3rd in the Pac-12 in the poll?
Yeah, we're 20th overall.
Behind USC and Oregon.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think it was like 2 writers put us in the top 10. One put us at like 7, and the other put us, I think, at 9.
We had 3. We were 6, 7, and 9.
Okay. So yeah.
But to directly answer the question in regards to the pecking order in the Pac-12 North, I think it's UW's season to lose. I don't think that Wazoo's going to pose any challenges. I don't think Oregon State's going to be in the running. I think Oregon still has enough talent to win games, obviously, but I just don't see them. Honestly, I'm trying to come from an unbiased place. I just don't see they went 4-3 last year. They lost to Oregon State, they lost to Wazoo, and who else did they lose? Oregon State.
Yep.
And it's like they're not. I don't know where the hype is coming from. Like they beat USC in the Pac-12 championship, which UW for sure would have beat USC too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. Stanford lost
And then
their
they got
quarterback.
smacked by Iowa State.
Yeah. Stanford's always going to be a good team. Stanford's always had our number, so I could see us having trouble with them. But again, they lose their quarterback. I think Stanford probably was the best team in the North at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
I think they were better than us, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they had a bunch of COVID mishaps with key players being out early in the season. So I think the Huskies have the path of least resistance to finishing first. And I would be shocked if we don't win the North next year, honestly.
Yeah, well, and this speaks to the other part of a college program, which is development, right? And I don't think we're second to anyone in the Pac-12 in terms of development. So there's tons of stats that they always tweet out and stuff from UW football as far as like most guys that have turned out to the NFL. And many of those guys are 3-star guys, 2-star guys. Some of them are even unranked walk-ons, so we see it even on the team now with someone like Eddie Ulofucio, who's an all-conference player now, borderline all-American player. Like he was the top graded linebacker coming back. Dude was a walk-on. So we're able to find these diamonds in the rough. I just hate relying upon that though, and seeing Oregon just like rack it up with these recruiting stars grinds my gears, and it's going to grind my gears until the season actually starts. So we just got to get this rolling. Let's get some wins. Let's win some ball games. Get the momentum flowing again. Get the good juice flowing again. Get these young teenagers that, as Jimmy Lake described whenever he was asked why are there some recruiting woes, what do you attribute some of these decommits to? He attributes to working with 16, 17-year-olds, which is, true. There's definitely an aspect of that. At the same time, I don't think that answer satisfied a lot of Husky fans. So, but at the same time, you are dealing with those kids. So getting them to turn their heads and seeing that Husky football is what we're really about, and we're about winning. We're a winning culture. Pete brought that back to UW football. Sark really kind of brought it back, but Pete brought it back to a new level, put us back on the map. And Jimmy's here to try to keep it going. So he's been dealt a tough hand, but for sure, this is the fruit of the labor that Peterson worked at the end of his tenure, and we could see some good stuff this year. So let's break down this roster.
And I think the one thing I'll add to that too is we shouldn't downplay Jimmy Lake's role in building this roster either.
Sure.
I mean, he's basically built what I think will be one of the most elite defenses in the country. So your point is valid. It was Peterson, closing them as a head coach, but Jimmy Lake has had a huge hand in building this roster here as well.
That's the key that I'm seeing though, is just like it. And we talked about it on the last podcast, I think, Sam, is just like it's the head coach that really needs to close these recruits, right? And like keep them committed. You didn't see flips like we're seeing right now in Peterson's era. Yeah. And people are saying this is the year of the decommit and stuff and all this stuff because of COVID and just like other circumstances and factors and outside factors. But like it feels like it's hit the Huskies harder than a lot of other teams. So it's not a trend we want to keep going, but it's still a long way till December. So a lot could change between now and then.
Got to win games, and it starts with this roster right here. And
for sure.
I guess starting off the bat, we should talk about the quarterback battle. I know looks like my dad had a question there at some point if we're going to see a Billy Joe Hobart and Mark Brunell tandem QB battle. I don't see that happening. No. I'm still sticking with my guns here. I think Morris is going to start the season, and all indications have been through camp that Morris has looked spectacular. He's looked really good. And I love what I saw from Dylan Morris last year, just in terms of being able to step up in the pocket on key third downs, make the play when it needs to happen. He's obviously got the ear of the teammates. The team really rallies around him. And so there's a lot to like about Dylan Morris. And the whole thing with him has been, the struggle is stretching the field. And I think particularly in that Arizona game, even though it was a blowout, I mean, he had Jalen McMillan wide open deep 3 times in that game, and they didn't connect on bad throws. And so, I appreciate the question going back to like previous quarterback battles or quarterback tandems in history. And the one that I actually think will maybe not likely, but the one that I see playing out isn't Brunell and Hobart, but more in recent history at Clemson. Clemson was coming off, I can't remember if they were in the Final Four the year before. I think they might have just missed it, with a quarterback, Kelly Bryant, who was, a more seen. He might have been a redshirt sophomore or a junior. And then they got, the hot shot true freshman, Trevor Lawrence, coming in. Kelly Bryant played the first 4 games of the season, and then Trevor Lawrence came in that 5th game and took them all the way to the college football playoff. Did they win his freshman year? I can't remember if they won.
I think so.
I thought they did.
I think they did.
Yeah.
And so I can see a scenario, if Heward's going to play, it's going to be in a scenario like that. There's no way that I see Morris not being our starter for Montana, Michigan, Arkansas State. But I also see the way that schedule plays itself out. Heward is going to get time in that Montana game. He's going to get time and snaps in that Arkansas State game. And he has the upside. If you go to practice, you put a blindfold on when they release the ball and you take the blindfold off and see the flight of the ball, you can easily tell which ball Morris threw and which ball Heward threw. It's just way different in terms of arm talent. So I don't think that they're going to share snaps in a game like Hobart and Brunell did. It's not like one of them has the legs versus one has the arm scenario, but I still think Heward could come in towards the middle part of the season, and if he's coming on in practice like we've been hearing he has been in the last week, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take over, but all indications point towards Morris being the guy in 21.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be careful too as Huskies, right? And like, do we sacrifice our future because Dylan Morris is better now? Right? Because then, we have all these transfer rules that are coming into effect. And if Dylan Morris does a decent to good job and Heward doesn't get any playing time, he could leave, right? Because, Dylan Morris is what, a redshirt sophomore?
Freshman.
He's a freshman still. Oh,
yeah.
So he has a ton of eligibility. Right. You're right. So ton of eligibility left. And so Heward's going to be sitting there thinking like, what am I doing here? I'm going to go play somewhere else. And so that's the political part that worries me as well, because clearly, Heward has the higher ceiling, but he's not there yet. And so, you don't want to mortgage our future just because we can, So that's what because I feel like we can win the Pac-12 with Morris, but we could, compete for a title with Heward potentially, if all things are humming. So that's the tough part.
Sure.
And the shitty part of that is you can just as easily play the flip side of that coin. You try Heward out there and Morris is gone.
Morris is gone. Yeah.
Right.
That's just the reality that we live
100%.
And so that's why I think
which do you care about your backup quarterback at that point though? If you have Heward starring.
Well, I get it. I also think like the timing of Lawrence and Bryant situation in Clemson is interesting. You let this more senior guy, Morris, play for 4 games. So he's done for that season. That's a season of eligibility. So he's not going to just like transfer somewhere in the middle of the season. So like you could, as a coach, play funny business games with that as well.
Right.
Kind of does the student dirty though, a little bit like Kelly Bryant, but
no, it's not the exact same situation because they actually did Kelly Bryant a favor. I think it was the third game, because Kelly Bryant actually did end up transferring, and I don't know how that all
He
panned out
transferred
for
the same
him.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was able to regain that year of eligibility. I think it was after the fourth game. So he could transfer, sit out, and then basically recoup that year. You could play the funny games, but I think it's going to be Morris to begin the year. Honestly, in all likelihood, he'll probably play through the year, and then we're really talking about a battle going into 2022.
Right.
If Heward's going to play, it's going to be around middle of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. Justin, I'll go back to like your concerns about Heward transferring if he doesn't play this year. I mean, even his dad, Damon, has been pretty outspoken about he would benefit from a redshirt year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think he has guys in his ears like telling him he should go play elsewhere. I mean, that's coming from his dad right there. That would be like the number one guy that you would think that would be like, "Oh, you got to play, son," type thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't worry too much about that, at least not this year. If we're going into next year and Morris wins the battle again or something like that, then there might be a conversation at that point because
I feel like
Heward's got a year in the system, and like if he's going to pass Morris, it probably would have been by then type thing. So there'd be a conversation there. But I think this year you're look at more if Morris is the starter all year, like I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that conversation gets harder though, because then Morris gets more first team snaps and more practice,
Sure.
more game reps,
Sure.
and where Heward isn't getting
It's-
that. And
That's a coach's decision, though. I
Right.
mean, like it gets to the point where they think that Heward might be ready, and they think that if they're gonna take that next step, they got to start him.
Yeah.
And that's up to Jimmy Lake and folk, right?
It's
So,
only a matter of time. And I love Dylan Morris for all the reasons I started this conversation off with.
yep.
But it's only a matter of time before Heward passes him up. He's just so much more gifted as a passer. And it's only a matter of time. Whether it's this year or next year, I think it's a good problem to have if you're a Husky fan, but it also makes you have a little bit of a pit in your stomach because you like them both. But I think Morris's time as a starting quarterback, like the clock is ticking on that.
Right. For sure. And quarterback's obviously like the biggest position on the field. And I mean, I think this was labeled as a camp battle going in, but it really hasn't been that way. I mean, Jimmy has been basically like, yeah, Dylan Morris is our starter. If it's going to take something remarkable by the other two basically to supplant him at this point. So, and the way that he's practiced, all indications are that's the case. So I'd be absolutely astonished if anyone else trots out there against Montana other than Dylan Morris.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, I think he's probably your starter throughout the entire year. Like
Yeah.
you could see a different situation there, but I'm a little hesitant on that. I don't know. You got to see something's kind of special, I think, from Heward, even in like just that Montana game, like late quarters or something like that. You got to see something special, and like you got to see. I don't know. It gives me pause there to go on saying that he's gonna possibly get some playing time middle of this year. I think it's a redshirt year for Heward.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. It could definitely happen.
Yeah. All right, running back.
No, we got
all of it.
We got a
What's that?
question from my dad.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I see. I'll post it up here. And this relates more to your predictions on here, Sam.
You betcha.
all of us have Richard Newton
Yeah.
for sure getting carries, and I think practice reports would agree with that. But you talked about him a lot in spring ball and JV on Sunday. What do you think, Sam? Do you think he's going to get some playing time, and how much do you think he's going to get?
I think this is going to be a scenario where I do think Richard Newton's going to be the number one back. I'm hopeful that we don't play the seniority thing. So this goes back to our earlier conversation with the Seahawks about personnel decisions. It's more of an issue with the Huskies, in my opinion. I think Sean McGrew, Kamari Pleasant need to take a back seat this year, particularly to Richard Newton. I think when he's on his game, he's a really solid player for us. But if I'm looking at the stable of running backs we have, in my opinion, the most complete back from a talent perspective is Javion Sunday. He's got the height, he's got the weight, he's got the attitude, he's got the speed, and he's got the nastiness too. Like watching him, and like I will just say, I will pat myself on the back here. Like of all the positions in football, the one that I feel like I have the best grasp on in terms of evaluating talent is running back. And that even goes back to the Myles Gaskin prediction that I'm, in my
I remember
Husky
that.
football circle,
Yep.
I'm famous for. Is like, he's going to be the guy. I get really similar vibes from Javion. He just has a feel for the position. He's got a really good blend of size and speed. And so, I felt that way about Cam Davis as well. I liked what I saw for him, but for some reason, he just hasn't been able to crack the starting lineup. I think he has a lot of difficulties in pass protection from what I've seen. So at the end of the day,
are you gonna give me any credit for the Gaskin
yeah,
stuff?
well, you kind of disappeared there. So I was like, not sure if you're going to be able to hear me or not, but
I can hear you.
Connor was in on the Myles Gaskin thing with me as well. So I will. What I want to see as a Husky fan is a lot of Richard Newton, Cam Davis, and Javion Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think through their entirety of their Husky careers, Javion Sunday is going to be the best running back of those three. And I think there's a possibility that could come to fruition sooner than a lot of people think. And it's just one of those things where whoever has the hot hand is going to roll. And I just get the vibe from Javion that he comes into a game and starts doing his thing and the snowball starts rolling down the hill. You got to keep playing that guy.
Yeah.
Man, I really hope you're right. I'm just afraid that we're going to see a lot of Sean McGrew like we saw
I'm
last
afraid
year.
of that too.
And
I think we're going to see a lot of Sean McGrew.
To be fair, he had a couple of nice games, but man, we just have so much more talent, and it was such a head scratcher why we haven't seen much more Richard Newton. And so I really want to see him pounding the rock this year. I mean, we have a lot of talent in this position for sure, but I want to see Richard Newton starting out the year as our number one, just pounding the rock.
Yes.
7 yards a carry. Let's get it going.
Woo! I love it. Let's go.
Big Dick Newton. Give me some Big Dick Newton. Yeah, I'm all in Richard. He was by far the best running back at the spring game. Like it wasn't even really that close. Cam Davis looked okay, and I've liked what I've seen from him more like flashes in games, and just reading from practice reports. But when I test for me, it's Richard Newton. Like he's the guy.
Oh, I don't know. I tested Sunday, baby.
I mean,
Richard Newton. I'm with you guys. Like Richard Newton needs to be number one.
Newton still looked better than Sunday though at the spring game.
Yeah, Sunday didn't really get a lot of reps in the actual spring game though. But the practices that I went to, and I think this is what Daddy Sam's talking about because I went to a lot of the practices with him. Like Sunday looks like an NFL running back, dude. Newton looks like a really good college running back to me, not an NFL guy. Sunday looks like an NFL dude.
You said those same words about Deontay Cooper.
Okay, well, yeah. How can I predict somebody has 3 torn ACLs
to the same knee? Yeah.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
Sorry, just had to bring that up. I'm fine with any of those guys, honestly. I think all of them obviously bring more to the table than Sean McGrew or Kamari Pleasant. Those are known commodities at this point. They're not going to overwhelm you. They're going to get their carries, I'm sure, and they're going to get their snaps, especially on passing downs because they're better passer protectors. But I'm hoping, as far as carries go, that it's like a Newton Davis Sunday trio for the most part. So we'll see what happens. For sure, there's a stable there. And they preach it that way, and they market it that way, that the running back room is a stable. And we've been really good at recruiting running backs, especially from Texas as well. Caleb Berry's another guy that isn't going to play this year, but true freshman, huge dude that is going to factor into the future. And then we just locked up, obviously, Emeka Megwa as well, going into 2022. So all good signs from the running back crew. All right, wide receiver. I mean, I think all of us are kind of in agreement here. There's definitely a clear top three, I'd say. Even though Jimmy Lake will say that basically every spot's up for grabs. Bynum for sure is like your wide receiver one, like as far as just like targets go. Odunze and McMillan like are your really talented young guys. They need to show more consistency with catching the ball. I think we can all agree upon that as well. Odunze seems to be doing a little bit better in that aspect than McMillan does. And also, there's a recent report that McMillan injured his hand, so I don't know what that actually means. As far as the long-term ramifications, it might just be, a tweak of a finger or something like that, sprained finger. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully it's not a broken bone. Obviously, wide receivers need their hands, so if he's
kind of a big deal.
If anything's broken, he's probably going to be out for a bit. So hopefully that's not the case because he had a couple of good practices before that injury came about. Anything else you want to touch over with the wide receiver core?
I think the only person worth calling out outside of those top three is Giles Jackson, transfer from Michigan.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to
honestly,
see.
But
Polk is a transfer from Texas Tech, bigger, like traditional wide receiver. But the thing that's interesting about Giles Jackson is he's different than every other receiver we have on the roster. He's a smaller, stocky guy. He's not small. He's short and thick. Kind of think a little bit of a slightly bigger Chico McClatcher, but extremely electric with the ball in his hand. So he'll likely be.
He's not Andre Bocelli.
Yeah,
and he's not Aaron Fuller. Okay,
correct.
So knock those ones off your list. He's he's thicker than that.
Yeah,
he's short, like you said. But yeah, Chico McClatcher is probably a pretty good. Even a Jadon Mickens a little bit, kind of like that.
Yeah, he's bigger than Jadon, but same style. And I think you're going to see Jackson definitely have a role in the return game, whether that's kicks or punts. Probably more kicks than punts.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. He adds an element to the wide receiver group that nobody else does. So I'd imagine that he'll carve out a niche role for himself and have some electrifying plays. So, he just joined the team in the fall. He wasn't here for spring. So as he gets into the swing of things, that's just another name to keep an eye on in that wide receiver rotation.
For sure. Yeah, and he's going to get snaps. I mean, I think they're going to have gadget plays for him too, because he's totally that guy, end around sweeps, screens, all that kinds of stuff. Like
can score from anywhere.
Yeah, that's totally his ball game. So he'll be exciting. He's electric and he's really, really fast. I've seen a lot of teams
and
he's really fast.
I think he's the first Husky to ever wear the number 0. So he'll stand out in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot to live up to there. All right. Moving on then. Tight end. I don't think there's much argument here.
No.
Cade Otton, All-American. Probably going to be a first or second round draft pick.
Yeah.
Real good.
If you want to see an NFL player playing in college, go to a Husky game and keep your eyes on number 87. He's the best player on the field.
Yep.
He's the best player on our team.
Yeah, definitely our best offensive player. I would argue.
You think the best player? Yeah, I don't know about best player.
He's for sure our best player.
You think over McDuffie?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Really?
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
without
are you
doubt.
Okay? So are you talking college player or like projected NFL player?
Who is the best player at playing football at their position, regardless of level? Is Cade Otton.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't think I agree with that.
How can you disagree?
Because Trent McDuffie's really fucking good.
Yeah. I don't know
but Cade Otton there's nothing that Cade Otton
and Trent
can
McDuffie
do.
also makes an impact on special teams because he's a hell of a punt returner.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in one game. I don't know that he'll be.
Dude, oh my God, Sam.
What?
You were all about Trent McDuffie returning punts after that game.
Yeah, I loved it, and he didn't return punts after that.
Dude, I think he's back there for sure.
I hope he is, but he was back there for the Oregon State game. He had a hell of a return. But like,
Oh man,
when else was he a when else was he a
Was he
contributor
really
to
not out
special
there the
teams?
rest of the year?
No, it was Kyler Gordon.
I don't like that.
There's an argument to be made.
Trent's
I'll
real
give you
good.
that. Trent
think they
is an
probably wanted to
amazing
keep-
player.
They wanted to keep him healthy because he's so damn good. Sam.
Yeah, I agree. But if I'm looking at who is a professional NFL player playing in college football, it's Cade. Trent McDuffie is going to the NFL. He's going to be a damn good corner.
Trent's probably
But-
going to get picked over Otten. You realize that?
Maybe.
Cornerbacks typically
think
more sought after than
definitely.
tight end. That's more of a position value than anything. But yes.
Yeah. But what could Cade Otten do differently to make him a higher coveted
I get
tight
it.
end
I'm
for
not,
the NFL?
I'm not shitting-
No,
I'm
I'm
not
just
trying to
asking.
shit on-
I'm just asking. Is there
Yeah, I'm not
anything
trying to
Cade
shit
Otten
on
could
Cade
do?
Otten.
He's got all the size, height,
He
weight,
could be a little bit faster.
speed. How?
How?
You
He could
you've
be a little
seen
bit
him,
faster.
but you've seen him take the top off the defense down the seam as a tight end.
Sure. I mean, he can beat a linebacker. Can he beat a safety?
All
Like
fucking
over the
day.
top? I don't
Yeah.
know about that.
Just throw it up. Yeah.
He's a solid route runner. Like, I mean, he could probably always improve on his route running too. Like,
Have you ever seen him drop a pass?
no, and I didn't talk about his hands at all.
Have you seen
I think
Trent
his hands are
McDuffie
great.
get beat?
I don't know why
All
this is
corners
turning
get beat,
into the
dude.
conversation that it is. I think Kate Otten is number 2. All I was saying is Trent.
No. Cade Otten is number 1, and I will.
Oh boy,
I didn't think
Dude.
the tight end. I didn't think the tight end position was going to be this long of a conversation.
I know.
I can't believe you guys are fighting me so hard on this.
I'm not fighting. We're fighting. That's hilarious.
All I'm saying is that you're not giving Trent McDuffie enough love right here.
I am. That's just how damn good Cade Otten is.
Man,
Or that's
I
how
don't
damn good
know.
the Husky team's going to be this year, right?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, can we move on that?
Jeez.
We can
Yeah,
agree
let's
upon
move
that.
on.
We're taking this one offline. No.
Jesus. Jesus, man. All right. Moving on to the offensive line. Tight end, we should shout out Jack Westover. I think he's going to play a pretty cool role in this offense. Like being kind of a hybrid fullback, H-back, tight end. Like he's going to get quite a few snaps. You'll see Devin Culp. You'll see Mark Redmond out there as well. But those two guys are really going to be the ones that are factoring into the tight end fullback position. All right, offensive line. We do have a disagreement as it comes to the guard positions here, Sam.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly going upon based upon practice reports. I think you're obviously going upon like kind of what spring ball was / what we saw last year. So specifically with MJ Ale, Ulumu Ale, he was our starting left guard last year and was solidified kind of at that position, but he has always struggled with pass protection. He's a mammoth human being. He's like, what, 6'6", 350 or something like that?
Yeah, he's massive.
355, so he's huge. But he's always been he's had some like kind of slow feet when it comes to pass protection. A lot of guys have gotten past him. And so they have opened up that competition at left guard a bit. Sam, you and Justin both have Ale still starting here, but everything that I've heard is that he's kind of working more at right guard now. Backing up by Navalu.
I think that was more of a last week thing that started to creep into the rotation there. And I'm hesitant to read too much into it. It could also just be, the coaches using that week to cross-train Ale at the right guard spot, because we all know Bainavalu is going to be our right guard. And so I don't want to read too much into Bulow or Kalepo getting the starting reps last week at left guard over Ale while he was working with the second team at right guard as like a demotion for Ale.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that he's obviously the weak spot along the 5 offensive linemen. And so we could
especially
see
in pass protection.
Yeah, so we could. I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me to see Bulow or Kalepo take that spot, but I know that Ale had been looking into that right guard spot recently, but I don't know if that's so much to say he's got a new position versus just trying to get him some reps at a new position for, backup's sake. If something happens to Bainavalu, they can bump
like a
Ale there.
versatility type thing.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Swing guard position, almost.
Yeah,
I got
but
you.
I do think that's going to be, if any of the all the other positions are locked in. I mean,
right.
Kirkland, if we're going to start the whole who's the best player on the team thing again, he's in that conversation.
He's
at left tackle. Wattenberg is like 6th, 7th year senior at center.
Yeah, he's about as solid as they come.
Bainavalu is probably your most talented offensive lineman. He's, had some bouts of inconsistency, but he's your right guard. And then Victor Kern has been a pleasant surprise at right tackle, and he's got that lockdown. Right. So if anything is going to happen, it'll be at the left guard position with MJ Ale, Nate Kalepo, and Julius Bulow.
Yeah. And Bulow is huge too. 6'8", 330.
I know, you think tackle almost, but
right, for sure. I mean, that's going to be fascinating. The one thing that I'll say just about this offensive line, one, they're going to be really good no matter what. They're going to be road graders, especially in our running game, which we're going to be a run first team. We know that.
Yeah.
And then two, they're huge. Like this is. I remember my senior year working for UW Athletics in the marketing department and being on the field, and the game day whenever we hosted Oregon our senior year, being on the field and just being like, dude, like the athletic difference, especially on like the offensive and defensive lines, is just different, right? You see it in warmups, and then you're down there on the field and you can just see guys in the trenches just getting dominated on our side.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. Like these are big dudes. Like we are on par with that type of talent, like a top 15, top 10 team.
Yeah, I think this is a top 5, top 10 offensive line.
Yeah. And everyone's back. Everyone is back from last year. And you might have a position battle at left guard, but I mean that's good because you still have everyone back. Like it doesn't mean that you've actually lost anyone there. So that'll be fascinating, and those guys are going to be getting it all started, obviously, for us on offense. All right, switching over to defense. I think defensive tackle, we're pretty much all in agreement here. I feel like there was one other guy that the freshman.
Yeah,
Pehopa or whatever.
Yeah, Kua Pehopa has really come on strong, but he's also been rumored to have an injury. I think he was in a boot, so that's unfortunate. But
I think he's out of the boot now.
He is? Okay, that's good. But yeah, I think we got a really good thing going where we've got 2 interior defensive linemen, 3 classes in a row, and they've really worked and gelled together nicely. And I think you're going to see that hockey shift mentality come back into play here for the Huskies. You have Leituli Nasanoa come in with Sam Taimani, goes by Taki. That's going to be your starting 2 for sure. Yep. Behind them are going to be the second-year players. Was it Tuli? What's his first name? Fatui. Yeah, Fatui Tuitele. And Jacob Bandes. And then to your point, the true freshmen behind them, Void Tanufi and Kua Pehopa.
Yeah, Void, and I didn't mention him. So
so I think you got. I mean, you're 6 players deep there, and I think you're really going to.
We didn't even mention Angola.
Yeah, he stood out in the spring game for sure.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot about him in the fall, but he looked really good in the spring game. So hopefully, I don't know if he's sitting out right now or if I'm not sure.
Well, the interesting thing with him too is I think he lost a lot of weight this offseason, so I don't know if they're looking at him in some heavy packages at that defensive end spot.
Right.
Because I think we're going to see 3 down linemen more than we have in the past, with Pete Kwiatkowski moving on to Texas and Bob Gregory stepping in as defensive coordinator. We've seen that already in spring and fall camp. So I think you're going to.
It's been a little leaky the past couple of years. So, yeah.
Yeah. But the main takeaway here is we've got the dudes at defensive tackle for sure.
Yeah, and Thule is someone that we were looking for to take that next step. He's lost 30 pounds this offseason. Like he is trimmed down and he feels a lot better. And like all reports are he is like disrupting basically every play in practice. Like they have to take him out for the offense to function sometimes.
Yeah.
So look for him to be really a huge disruptor when it comes to that defensive line and specifically the defensive tackle position. All right, outside linebacker. It's a little bit of an intriguing position. I know that we're pretty much in agreement here, but obviously the loss of ZTF and kind of the reports that that might not be as season ending as we thought it might be.
Yeah.
And that things are trending towards him playing this year. I mean, Jimmy Lake's gone on record saying he's going to play this year, like almost assured us that he's going to play this year. It's just a matter of when. Early reports, obviously, when he first got injured, it was a torn Achilles.
Yeah, partially torn.
It was going to be a 6 to 10 month recovery. Earliest part of that on the timeline would have been November, but by Jimmy's reports and the fact that he's out there, like he's not like really practicing, but he's doing some light conditioning on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's doing that, I don't think October's out of the question at all. Like I don't think conference play is out of the question at all at this point. So definitely something to monitor there. There's definitely some other guys here that are gonna factor in, but I don't think ZTF's lost for the season, and that's huge news for the Huskies.
Yeah, it's massive. He's a game changer. I mean, he averaged over a sack per game.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
And we don't have anyone like him, at least that's proven at this point.
Right.
Ryan Bowman's a proven commodity, very disruptive, really good player, like a solid hard-nosed defensive end, outside linebacker type that really good at shedding blocks too, super good at containing in the run game. Braylon Trice is kind of the standout sexy pick to be the next why am I blanking on his name?
Joe Tryon.
Joe Tryon. Yeah, Joe Tryon. So he's kind of the sexy pick to become kind of the next Joe Tryon, and more of like your pass rush type. And he's the one that's filling in for ZTF right now. Savell Smalls is obviously going to factor in there as well. 5-star recruit, super high recruit, athletic, and I mean obviously the world's his oyster as far as potential goes. So we'll see what happens there. And then the transfer, Jeremiah Martin's obviously going to factor in as well. And I think he is already impressed coaches enough that like I think it's pretty fair to say he's going to have a way better career here than he ever did at Texas A&M, and might start to live up to kind of the potential that people saw in him as a recruit. So,
yeah.
Anything else outside linebacker?
No, I mean, the only other thing to maybe mention here is there's been a little bit of smoke around Leatu Latu today.
Yeah.
He medically retired. He's had some neck issues. And so, this time last year, I guess it wasn't this time last year, but about a year ago, everyone thought that he was done playing football. And there's been a little bit of smoke on Twitter that might not be the case. And so if you get a guy like Latu and ZTF back and you add him to wild. Bowman and Martin and Trice and Smalls, I mean, that is a loaded pass rush group. And so I think we're going to be in good hands. I think we'll get some pressure on the quarterback, going back to the question we got when we were talking about the Seahawks, the ability to rush the passer with 3 or 4 down linemen. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be an issue for the Huskies.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
especially
is great.
once CTF is back. Like I need to see it from Trice in a game. I for sure saw it in the spring game.
Yeah.
He looked really good. And Smalls looked really good too. And I have a lot of faith in him panning out.
I think you're going to see it from Thule, interior pass rushes there.
For sure. And Taki too. I mean, both of them work in tandem so well.
Yeah.
Jordan Lolahea is another guy to bring up too, and he's going to factor in as well
Yeah.
to the rotation, mostly at defensive end, but he can be a little bit of a hybrid as well. He can play in and out, so kind of like Bowman can. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I agree with Sam. I think we're gonna have a pretty formidable pass rush no matter what. All right, middle linebacker. And speaking of pass rush, Ulufushi has a
Yeah.
pretty damn good blitzer. So I think we're in good hands there.
Yeah.
Sermon has had a really, really good offseason. We've hated on him a lot, but I think he's really solid. Or I think he's going to be solid this year.
Hope
All
so.
reports are that like he has had a really good offseason. He looked good in the spring game. Looked a lot better with his play recognition and attacking the ball. So and obviously being able to get off blocks. That's one of the things that I know that you've stressed on, Sam.
Yeah.
He was better at that in the spring game as well. But need to see it on Saturdays as well. So middle linebacker core, we do have to mention is pretty bare bones right now. Like we're pushing for depth right now, especially because one of the guys we have listed on here, Daniel Haimuli, who has been coming on, and he would be probably the first guy to push Sermon for a starting gig if anyone was going to.
Yeah.
Got some kind of leg injury, specifically possibly a knee injury, in a practice a couple days ago, and was seen wearing a brace on the sideline the past couple days. So we'll see what that means. Sometimes that's nothing. Jimmy hasn't said anything about it, which usually means that it's not season ending at least, but
Right.
they may still be getting reports back, and maybe he doesn't have an official diagnosis yet. So that news still could be coming, but hopefully Daniel Haimuli is not out for the season, because our linebacking core will be really pushed to its depth at that point. We'll be talking about walk-ons, Ben Hines, and some
Drew
guys that haven't.
Fowler.
Yeah, some guys that have been back and forth between outside linebacker and inside linebacker with like Broiner and stuff too. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about really thin depth there, past the two guys that we think are going to be solid. So
Yeah, our middle linebacker room has gotten decimated. I mean, we lost Josh Calvert at the end of spring.
Yep.
He transferred out. Alfonso Tupatala was in a boot
Right.
by the end of spring. That's another guy kind of like Hamuli that's been in the mix with the starting reps.
Yep.
So that's no good. Mickey Ayu has left the team for personal family reasons. Will Latu, the incoming freshman, has left the team for personal and family reasons. So, what used to be kind of a log jam at middle linebacker, all of a sudden, like you said, the cabinets are looking pretty empty. So hoping that Ulufoshio and Sermon stay upright on their 2 feet and don't have any injuries, and Hamuli can get back in the mix. Tupatala can get back in the mix. But right now it's really those two guys carrying the torch for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's a little scary to be honest. Just like, I mean, we typically rotate those guys in twos, and I'm not really comfortable with the twos at this point.
No, definitely not.
So we'll see what happens. Hopefully some of those guys get healthier sooner rather than later. All right, secondary. I mean, I think the secondary is going to be damn good. Kind of always has been. I mean, we've been at least on the West Coast DBU. So
for sure.
McDuffie, we mentioned him earlier, as good as they come at that cornerback position. I expect him to have a massive year. He's going to be gone after this year for sure, even though he has eligibility left. Kyler Gordon, if he has a breakout season, he could also be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So after this year, that secondary could get tested a little bit as far as depth. I like some of the guys that are coming up, but like past that, we'll see. Nickel position, the big transfer, Buki, as they call him, Brendan Radley Hiles, is likely to factor in there. And then Cam Fab, as we've talked about, I don't see how you keep him off the field. Like he's got to play a factor because he's too good of a player to not play. So all four of those corners, I should say, are really, really talented though. And they're all going to be on the field in some kind of capacity, one or another.
Yep.
I think where the interesting conversation starts though is the safety position.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of difference here. And I think it just depends kind of like how you categorize these guys and where they play, I think, with where we're listing them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I personally have like if it were a perfect world and you have the two most talented guys on the field, in my opinion, you have Julius Ervin and Dominique Hampton on the field, and you got your enforcer, and then you got a little bit more. Ervin's not really a speedster, but he's way more of like a pass deflector, like really good at pass coverage type safety. So he'd be more of your deep safety role. So you got a box safety and a deep safety. And Irvin's been lighting it up at camp, getting interceptions every day off of every quarterback. And really highly recruited too. Like he was a really talented player coming in. Kind of really hasn't really come to fruition for him as quickly as probably most hoped, but the light seems to be turning on for him. So that's my hope. But I know that there's other guys that factor into this. So I don't know if you have anything to talk about those guys, Sam.
Yeah, I think similarly, Dom Hampton is the one that really catches my attention at safety. I know McDuffie made some headlines when he was down at Pac-12 Media Days. Basically said, when you think of Dom Hampton, think of Cam Chancellor, but with my speed. That's a little steep of praise for my liking without seeing him at safety in an actual game. But
has he even played?
He hasn't played safety. He's definitely gotten
corner, though.
Game reps at corner. And Hampton, I mean, I don't think McDuffie's that far off. I mean, Hampton's not the physical, imposing presence that Cam Chancellor was. He's not 6'3", 235, but he is 6'2", 225. So he's a big ass safety for college football, and he's got wheels. Like I saw him, track some guys down in spring practice with some pretty amazing speed for his size. So if you're thinking about an enforcer at strong safety, size, speed combination, there's nobody in that room that can touch Dom Hampton from a size and speed comparison. I think at the free safety spot, I like Julius Ervin. I hope he can, reach his potential there. He's got bloodlines. His dad and grandpa both played in the NFL. So, you'd hope that he's shaking the injury bug, so to speak, and can get some looks in real games. I know he got some snaps against Arizona in the nickel position, got burned a couple times. But I think he factors into it. The other guys that are in the mix, Alex Cook, he started a lot of games last year. He's last year was his first year playing safety since high school. He was a wide receiver his first year and a half, 2 years on campus. So he's a name to watch. He's also been, dealing with some injuries throughout spring camp. Cam Williams is who I have there. He played a lot as a true freshman. He's been a liability in terms of tackling. I think he covers really well, and he's pretty sound in the pass game, but his angles and tackling technique have been pretty bad in the games that and I like it in some respect because he's coming in with bad intentions, but he just needs
most of that's come from his true freshman year too. What can you expect from a true freshman? He's going to take bad angles, so it's just different speed and game.
Yeah, so I think if he can figure that out, he's a guy that has really good ball skills, gets his hand on a lot of balls, can get a lot of interceptions. And then the other guy that none of us have on here that is likely to factor in is Asa Turner. He's played a lot of games. I don't think any of us, have. He was really bad last year. There's no way to put it.
Awful.
I've watched the all 22 highlight on him, and it has not been good. And with somebody
as big of a miss of a prediction that I've ever had.
Yeah, and with his size, you would like to see him play a more physical brand of football, and we haven't seen it from him. So I think, if that light clicks for him, he's got all the physical tools in the world, similarly to Dom Hampton, that could be a really intriguing duo. But I think at this point, I think it's probably Hampton, Williams, Irvin, and Cook are ahead of him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hasn't Turner missed practices recently too?
Yeah, I think the rumor mill is he's got COVID.
Yeah. He and someone else too. There's like one or two other guys I think that possibly have COVID. I can't remember their name. Can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, Turner is definitely one of the guys that we suspect possibly has COVID right now. So hopefully he gets healthy soon and gets back out there and back in the competition. But I don't think any of us would pick him to be us in the starting role this year, at least from what we saw last year.
No, not based on experience that I saw. And you guys are way more in tune with it than I am, but I was not impressed. Let's just
No, you know football enough though, Justin, to look at a
I know if something's good or bad, and if they're so there you go.
And he was a bad player last year. So I think
that pretty much rounds out the depth chart. I know we've got a couple of questions that we can probably address. I know I don't know if we want to touch the hot topic, but Sam G came in with the flaming.
My fiance just throwing out the fire questions right here.
Should the Cougars fire their coach? Hashtag hot topic.
Oh man, I mean,
hashtag get vaccinated.
That's like a wait and see one, right? I mean, based off of Inslee's mandates today, where all federal, all state employees involved with
academic
education and academics have to be vaccinated by October.
I feel like
18th.
This is all directed at Rolovich.
I know, right?
Inslee's like, how do I get this guy vaccinated or fired? He's a UW grad.
He doesn't by then. I can't imagine.
Inslee? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's a UW grad. He's probably just trying to get him fired.
I can't imagine if he doesn't get fired if he doesn't get vaxxed by then. I mean, it's already been a shit show for them. I mean, it's come out that they're the lowest or one of the lowest vaccinated teams in the Pac-12 at around 80%. Cougar fans and the media are just calling for his lack of leadership and just really, really on him. I mean, he's in hot water right now. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be definitely fun to watch. There's obviously the exception loophole there around, medical and religious reasons to not get vaccinated. So he could come up with some bullshit. I mean, who knows? Like, we don't know his medical history, so who knows? But based on the way that he's presented it, it seems very much like it's just his personal choice not to. And so it'll be interesting to see what transpires out of that, but definitely something to watch. It'll be, I mean, going back to your comment about Inslee, if he is a UW grad wanting to get him fired, I would argue the opposite. You kind of want that guy to stick around at WashU.
Well, you definitely do get a competitive advantage if he's not vaccinated, just as far as the rules and regulations like behind the scenes when it comes to policies and mandates and stuff like that. So
well, I mean, in any case, regardless of his personal reason, like, it's pretty poor leadership. I mean, the Cougars could have to, if they have a COVID outbreak and they're out players, like Pac-12 rules, I mean, you have to forfeit the game essentially, which not only is bad for the Cougars, but if they're on any game that's on ESPN or Fox, that's a lot of lost money for the Pac-12. So there's a lot of implications there.
I'm honestly surprised that Pat Chun's putting up with this, because like they were the first school in the state to say that like you need to be vaccinated to be back on campus in fall, like just like academically. So I'm surprised that Pat Chun is and like he's come out and said like basically like we're all about vaccines and stuff like that, but he also really hasn't addressed the issue at hand with Rolovich head on too. So I don't know.
And that's we'll who knows? Maybe there is a medical reason. Maybe there's not. But
maybe you can give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not there yet with him.
Yeah,
it's always a zoo on the Palouse. We all know that.
All right, your dad had another question, and I think you mostly addressed this, Sam. With you think that he is going to get playing time this year.
Yeah, and I think his other comment around, I think he's probably referring to, well, I don't know. He said he needs to stay healthy as I think he will be running angry.
I think that's Javion.
I think that applies to both Richard Newton and Javion. And so the way that I'll answer those two comments is part of the reason why I think we're going to see a lot of Javion and Richard Newton. I think if you're looking for a Thunder and Lightning duo, that's going to be the Thunder is coming from Javion and Richard Newton, and the Lightning's probably coming from some combination of Cam Davis and Sean McGrew mixed in there. And so, Richard
Newton. What about
Newton.
Kamari Pleasant?
I'd prefer.
Yeah.
I mean, he is our best pass blocker without a doubt. So he's
He
going
honestly
to get
looked
in
a
there.
lot better than we thought that he was going to last year. But yes,
He just
I
doesn't
get your point.
bring anything special with the ball in his hands. So what I see potentially happening is what we've seen transpire in the past. Like Richard Newton's going to get his carries. He runs angry and he seeks out contact and he gets injured. That's what we've seen happen. And so if and when that happens, the next guy in that role is Javion Sunday. And I feel like it could be a Myles Gaskin situation when Sunday starts to get those carries and those looks in real-time game reps. Like the rest could be history. I think he's that good.
I hope so, because that room is really talented, and if he separates himself that much, I think that's more of an accolade to him than it is the rest of the group not performing up to standards. So it'd be interesting to watch for sure. I think we have one more question here from Mitchell that we can address. How much of an influence do you think that COVID redshirt will have on the season? Sam, Justin, any thoughts?
I think it's an interesting question. It's a really good question. I don't know how much of an impact it'll have on this season.
I think the biggest thing for the Huskies is that they just got everyone back.
Yeah, like you get a guy like Luke Wattenberg is the one that really comes to mind as your center. He gets to come back and play. That's really the only player that maybe a Terrell Bynum also. Or was he? I think he was a junior last year. He would have been
Bynum
back
would Bynum's still eligible next year.
If
he wants.
Our right guard, was he going to be back anyways?
No, he is super young. Bainavalu's, I think, a sophomore eligibility wise.
Okay.
I mean, we had questions about whether Kirkland would come back. We had questions whether ZTF would come back.
Yeah, but those are all like non-COVID related.
Yeah, but I mean, in a regular season, like if they had a regular year, I think those guys probably go.
Yeah,
especially like true. Otten.
Yeah,
right. Like
because he's so good, right? He's an NFL player, right?
Well, to be fair, McDuffie probably would have been gone too.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess I think the impact of the COVID redshirt is being felt in recruiting right now. And basically you're going to have these scholarship restrictions where you can only, after this year, you can only have 85 players on scholarship. And where you're going to see that really have an impact for the Huskies, honestly, is Dylan Morris and Sam Hewitt at quarterback. Because now technically they're the same eligibility. They both have 4 years to play.
Unless Hewitt redshirts this year, but yes.
Unless he redshirts, yeah. But I think that's where you're going to see things happen where some of these guys should be sophomores or juniors, but now they're freshmen and sophomores.
Right.
And it's going to start to create some of these log jams. I guess the other examples would be, Sean McGrew and Kamari Pleasant. They were seniors last year. They're back.
They're back.
Maybe to a negative now they're maybe just creating a dam at that position. So
where's the addition by subtraction?
Really good question. And I think the real impact of it is yet to be seen. I think we'll see it in 2022 and beyond.
Sure.
Agreed.
Fair. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for everyone that tuned in tonight, and thanks for all the good questions. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to go over before we sign off for the night?
Whoever that one person is that's still watching right now, I love that person, and it might be me.
It might be me too.
I'm pretty sure
some one of us.
Yeah, we see one viewer right now. I'm pretty sure it's one of us right now. So winning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun, guys. I hope you guys had fun too. Thanks for listening, folks. As always, we appreciate the support. Subscribe and follow if you haven't already. and leave us a message via the anchor link in our description. I'll put it in the description of this video as well. And make sure that you hit the notification bell on the YouTube channel as well, because anytime that we go live, this was kind of last minute planned, you'll get a notification on that. I usually try to schedule it like a day or two in advance, just so you guys are aware of it. But we might, like, some weeks we're going to just record a regular podcast. Some weeks we might go live. So just make sure you're subscribed to both platforms so that you know whenever we're going to go live. But yeah, until next time.
Go Hawks and go Dogs. Woo!